Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 9 pod of the FPL. I'm your host, Zophar, and I'm joined by my co host, Pras. Happy Diwali, buddy. How were the celebrations?
Happy Diwali to you and all our listeners. Celebrations were great. I am still enjoying some Kaju Barfi from yesterday. Yeah, it was very good. I have some extended family in London. My bua or my aunt is here, so went to visit them. Lots of friends. Like the social calendar around Diwali is just something else.
And
It
you've
was
been there
great.
for
How
like
was
what,
yours?
15 years in the UK almost? So
15
you're
years.
so well
15 years.
integrated
Yeah.
now.
We have friends from the time when I was in India, friends that we made here, friends that when we spent some time in the US. So it's like an amalgamation of about five or six close families and then other acquaintances. So it's like a big thing.
The chat is asking where LR is, obviously. And LR, I think, is just busy with, I think he's traveling on Diwali, he mentioned. He couldn't join us today.
Just too much debauchery over Diwali is what it was.
Now that you see all the Insta videos are quite entertaining.
Exactly, exactly.
But yes, we
What were we
should
gonna
talk.
say? So
My wild card is active.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And I have got my knives, I've got one knife for Sanchez, I've got one knife for Bruno. I'm sharpening them all. Why don't you talk us through the process of how did you get to activating it?
All to do with the Sunday night. And first of all, right, I'm just sick of all these Space Jam aliens just catching the premiums at the wrong time. Last year, I held on to Haaland for too long. This year, I've held on to Salah for too long. I don't know what I've done to deserve this. Honestly, and it's unreal how the parallels are, right? Because Salah, if you look at it in terms of the data, it's actually better the last two game weeks in the first few game weeks. It's properly leveled out. It's just that the
Yeah.
confidence, talent, whatever you call it, right? These are the factors that we can't really quantify on data. It's just not there
Yeah.
now because people can keep saying that, oh, yeah, Salah was getting good XGIs, you should keep Salah. But you can see it in the Liverpool players, right? Once they conceded the first goal, you could see the confidence, this panic in the body language. That swagger, that aura is just missing a little bit. And it's exactly what happened with City last year.
Yeah, and it's not only the one person doing badly, it's the other one smashing it. So last year, exactly like you said, I mean, this year, of course, the difference is you own Haaland as well. Last year, it was a case of someone sold Haaland for Salah and profited. This year, at least people who have both. So you really, what you're losing out is, let's say, a Saka points or, a
Bruno
second premium
points. So
defender.
exactly. So
Bru-
what's happened the last few weeks? Saka and Bruno have started coming to the fore a little bit, and the
Yeah,
main guy who's done damage to me the last few weeks is Gabriel, which I've managed to mitigate somewhat by having Timber in
with
there. So I've,
Timber.
I've not lost too much points by keeping Salah, maybe 15, 20 points compared to like 50 to 60 last year when Cunha was just going 15, 17 every
Yeah,
week, right?
yeah. Beautiful times for some.
Awesome.
All right, so let's talk. I mean, it's a big week actually. For I can see, look, people like me and LR who wildcarded last week, like we're chilling. We'll see our bus teams. We don't have much to do. But people who wildcarded in six, I think they're like carrying three, four transfers, and now they're on the edge. On shall we do the Raya to Timber switch? Shall we do the Gyökeres to Saka switch? Shall we get Palace guys even before Arsenal? So there's lots to talk about.
Absolutely. And yeah, so basically the idea was to pull the wild card was to distribute the Salah. I was pretty sure I'm going to do Salah to Saka. So I had 4.5 in the bank sitting there. And I have guys like Dewsbury Hall I'm starting every week, Grinders, maybe somebody like a Podo. I'm like, I'm going to upgrade these guys over 3 weeks and for what, right? In game week 12, we might realize that I don't really want too many Liverpool, given the way they're playing. So it just makes more sense to get those guys in now and then build up transfers, 3 to 4 transfers by then and use those instead rather than using the wild card.
Yeah, and Sean Dyche has ruined the Game Week 12 captaincy anyway. Like, you remember we were saying, we want to have Salah for 12, Salah for 12 because Ange, Salah against Ange, and now it's not going to be Ange. It's going to be Sean Dyche's bus.
Cool. Let's get started. Rush, lot to unpack
Let's
today.
do it.
First up, the scout plug. This is yours.
Yep. So all the data. Oh no, I've gone underwater.
Yeah,
All the data that you
that's it.
see is from Fantasy Football Scout, and as you guys know, we are longtime partners of Fantasy Football Scout, and we even do content for them. And if you want to join and become a member, it's a good time to do so. I consider 8 game weeks as a marquee time, and that has always been the case. Where now you can look at season data. Season data should statistically start to give you some evidence of things. So if Salah's numbers, there is a chart that will show if Salah's numbers are down, then you need to start paying attention. 3 game weeks in, 4 game weeks in, you can debate whether, is that noise or is that a thing. Now, if you are a member, you can go and do a stats deep dive. You can actually see, is that a thing? Is Mateta's numbers a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. So if you want to become a member, use the QR code, and there'll be a link in the description. And if you click that link, you'll be helping us out.
I couldn't do the stats video this morning, so I think we will do a bit more deep dive into the stats. And like you said, 8 game weeks is now a reasonable sample size, but we also do have to keep in mind the fixtures some teams have played. Like Arsenal's data is better because of the opponents they have already played. Sunderland's data, you
Correct.
have to read into the opponents they have already played, but with that, you still can quantify strength in defense and attack a little bit.
Correct.
As you guys know, NordVPN has been a long-term partner of the FPL Wire. If you're bored of the streaming libraries in your country, with NordVPN, you can access content outside your region, get access to a wider library on your favorite streaming services. If you're traveling outside your country, you can access your home library content. Every purchase of the 2-year NordVPN plan using the link nordvpn.com/FPL Wire receive an additional 4 bonus months on top. What have you been watching, Pras?
Diplomat started season
Yes.
3, so that's nice. I think we watched the first episode, not too much. The celebrity traitors we talked about last week,
They're doing only 2 episodes
and
a week, man.
I know, but it leaves you in a good place. Like I like it, so it's a I don't mind now. I've gone through the whole cycle of you like a show, you want to binge watch, but now with all these things going on, football, kids, and whatever, I don't mind like picking up a show every other week and going, okay, yeah, well, let's continue where we were. So I know it's like talking like aged people. Like I can't binge watch anymore. I don't have the time. I just get sleepy by 11:30, man. I can't do anything. So I don't mind the weekly shows. What are you
Yeah,
watching?
I've been waiting to start Task. I think this last episode of that just that's HBO's new marquee show. That's on my
Right.
watch list. It's got Mark Ruffalo in it. Looked pretty decent. Little bit slow to start with. I watched the first episode, then I decided just wait for the entire lot to. And like Diplomat also looks good. 3 episodes into that as well. But again, not as much TV being watched this week as usual with the wildcard activated. And it's
Exactly.
completely different from what you guys have, right? Because effectively, if you count Monday and Friday, it's effectively only a 3-day window. And all those days have like UCL games, Europe games. So there's so much to take in. Today we had press
There will be a
conferences
lot.
from Maresca to talk about a lot of content I want to consume. I watched Above Average already. You have to watch FML, Planet FPL, all the other guys as well.
Good, but you this is the only place where you'll have wildcard content because this office brought pretty much in terms of content creators the one playing wildcard this week. I can't think of many others.
Not many I can remember. I know Luke is. Shout out to Luke from Black Box. He messaged me. He unfortunately had Salah captain last week. So yeah, it burns, man.
He has been on Salah no Haaland actually, so he's taken a
Oh,
bigger hit, and he was on Haaland no Salah last year as well. So he actually takes the cake in terms of being on the wrong end of variance on the two big hitters.
yeah. Getting back to Nod, it also has an efficient anti-malware and anti-spyware protection. Highlights any attack and deletes it before it makes it. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/PLWire. Completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description.
I have to say one more
Why have
thing
you
while you
disappeared over
get me
here?
back on camera. There's a
What's
show
happening?
called Gen V. Have you heard of Gen V?
Gen VAs, I have. I suppose it's the heroes guys, right?
It's the boys.
The boys, yeah,
So
that's what I meant.
it's like a university
This
parallel
is
world
trying to figure.
in the boys world.
Hmm.
So somebody told me yesterday at Diwali that that's very good as well.
Apologies for this, guys. It's the first time I'm doing a 2% pod with Pras, so that's just why everything is jumbled.
Yes, I am here. Don't worry, everybody. And now I'm everywhere.
Now you're everywhere all at once.
There we go.
Cool,
Feels
Pras.
like that Inception thing.
Yep, yep. What do you think about the schedule that's coming up, Russ, now in Europe? Should we start there first, or let's start unpacking some of the trends you've seen so far? Let's start first.
Your wildcard, man. You tell me how can we help? What should we
Cool.
start with?
Let's start looking first at some of the events that happened today in terms of the press conferences from Maresca. So Chelsea had their open training and the updates so far have come in. So first up, Liam Delap, he said is very close to returning, and he hopes the next few days he will take part in the training sessions also. So this is very encouraging to me as a Chelsea fan. But in terms of FPL, this is going to cloud the waters a little bit now. I don't think Delap is going to come back right away considering it's a long-term hamstring injury, but we expect him to get minutes now potentially in maybe game week 10, maybe game week 11. And you have to keep in mind, game week 12 is almost a calendar month away. So when we come back around game week 12, the other side of the third international break, I think Delap will very much eat into minutes from Pedro, because then you'd have Palmer back also. You have Palmer as the option in the 10 as well. Something we
Yeah.
need to watch out for.
I mean, João Pedro is what can I say, man? You know that Mario meme of I won, but at what cost? Like I knew he's rubbish, man. He's not the Brighton João Pedro, but with the good fixtures, I went there on the wild card, like, and I've taken a price drop on him. I mean, can you imagine, like the pain? Like first I take all the price drops on Watkins, then I get João Pedro. I take a price drop on João Pedro now, so I don't know what to say. Like yeah, he's a short-term pick anyway, like João Pedro. And eventually, when Delap comes, it's not like João Pedro won't start because Delap will actually be good for João Pedro until the time Palmer comes back, and after that, then João Pedro becomes a minute risk, right? So there's a little bit of phase where he could be all right. I think he's a pick till game week 11, maybe game week 12. Game week 12 is the game week after the international break. Now, Brazil are not going outside to South America this time over the international break. So maybe his minutes are fine. But we're coming to a point where even if his minutes are fine, the guy's doing nothing all game. Like, if he's playing in the number 10, he's still doing all right. But otherwise, he's not doing a lot. He's not getting a lot of output. If he blanks this week, it's home to Sunderland. And Mateta even just survives. He doesn't even need to do anything against Arsenal. I think a lot of people will just do João Pedro to Mateta next week.
Yep. Sort of move I would do this week, but next week it just appeals. I think even if you read into data, when we'll talk about it, there's a lot to dive into. In terms of performances, I think going to number 10 is very good for him. And I think that will likely happen this week, because what will happen is Gusto also is out, right? Gusto is suspended.
Right.
So that's going to mean that Enzo, let's give the Enzo update over here. He mentioned that Enzo took part in the session yesterday. We have one more session and we will see what we do tomorrow. It's not something to be worried about. We just have to protect Enzo. And all the noise we heard even prior to game week 9 from all the usual journalists was he was thereabouts. Probably
He was nearly there, yeah.
And I think with Chelsea now, they've taken a decision to be more protective about players' fitness, given what happened to Palmer. I think that's a clear directive that's come from the medical department or the sporting director, that don't risk these guys, given the load they've had with the Club World Cup over the summer.
Yeah, fair shot. So what were you saying? So because Gusto is out, you expect Caicedo and Enzo.
Caicedo and Enzo, which naturally means there's no natural number 10. He's not going to try Andrew Santos there again, which will mean most likely Pedro at 10, Guiu or George. And another impact this has on Delap now is somebody looking at Guiu's minutes. Now, Guiu's minutes may be good short term up to the IB, but once Delap is back in the frame, Guiu minutes go way down all the way again post IB.
But people, if they're considering bench boosting with Guiu, what do you tell them? Should we do it?
Not a bad idea. And I think it's all very dependent on how he does versus Ajax tomorrow. Now, if he does, let's say, start against Ajax and bang a brace, a good chance he starts now, because the most interesting thing is now we're talking about Sunderland is a back three. Wolves is a back three. Against a back three, I think he's more likely to play a centre forward who's going to stretch those centre backs other than somebody like a João Pedro. So I think the chances are fairly good, but it could be very performance dependent as well.
So Guiu is starting, Krupi Jr. is starting. Our friend, who's that that Newcastle midfielder for 4.4? Miley. He got an assist over the weekend.
That's the second
assist all these
of
cheapos.
The season. I've been watching Pras.
Cheapos are doing all right. Cheapos are doing well.
Doing well. And that too, he came on for Joelinton, and I think he will get consistent minutes also now, given the UCL, in and out of the team, but you're going to see appearances going forward.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it in terms of injury updates. Nothing much happening at Arsenal or at the... Hopefully the players can be free now. Let's talk about Salah, Pras. Some data in the screen, and is this from Solio or is some other source we need to credit?
No, why don't you start? I'll find the source. Sorry, we didn't credit.
No problem. The guys watching on the audio, we are talking about Salah's per 90 minutes season by season. His goal and assists are down to 0.51, which is obviously, yes, shot volume is down 1.77. This is a big one, right? Because Salah touches in the penalty areas have nearly halved from last season. I think it's quite visible. A lot of times in the game, I just watch, because when you own Salah, right, you're obviously watching him, the very, very close blinders on. He's just screaming. Half the time he's just waving his hands like, why didn't you pass? Why didn't you pass to me? They're not looking for him in the same way they did last year. And successful take-ons, right? This is what really tells you that the guy is missing confidence. And he's not been a player who's the kind of guy who beats his man, right? He's very much movement, right place, right
But
time.
At least he tries.
He tries. But now he had 10% successful take-ons. I'm sure you and I tried. We could do something close to that.
No, but still.
Not, yeah.
No, but after the game on Sky, Carragher and Gary Neville were talking. One point Gary Neville made, which I sort of agree with watching the game. Gary Neville said people are putting it down to age, that, oh, it's his time is up and whatever. Like, he looks fit, he looks sharp. Even on the 85th minute, he's making sprints, he's doing the runs. But there is something wrong with something's happened to the technique. Like the way he took that shot. You remember the one chance he got against Man
Have
United
nightmares
where
about it, of course.
Curtis Jones even started celebrating. I don't know if you've looked at the video.
Yes.
He went and started celebrating on the in the other direction. And like Salah never misses this, and it looked so bad in terms of how he took the shot. And it's look, confidence is a thing, man. Like it is a thing. It is in his head that he's not in form, and Liverpool are struggling, and this is reflective in the data. And we said at the beginning in the scout thing, like if you're seeing goals and assists at a rate which is 30% of last year or 40% of last year, this is material. The shot volume is down. Penalty area touches. He's not even getting into the box. He's getting half as much into the box. Does it mean he's now washed and never becoming an FPL pick? No. I'm still going to continue to monitor. Game week 12, 13, I'll still look at it. I think my free hit window will be determined still by when I can get the Liverpool triple up, maybe against Sunderland game week 14. But I'm now less and less inclined to say I'm going to sacrifice my team to have him and Haaland, because it's coming with the thing that Haaland is also in huge form, right? If Haaland was struggling, you would say, you know what, just plod along with Salah. It's okay. What are you going to do with the money anyway?
Absolutely. And we'll talk about the captaincy matrix now. I think Haaland is pretty much captainable in any fixture. We'll talk about all the games that are coming in December. Somebody like a Bruno or Saka does cover that. Now, if you look at the money involved, you're talking about a Salah and a Josh King versus a Bruno and a Saka. The landscape was a little bit different a few weeks ago when Saka wasn't in the picture.
Guys, people in the chat keep noting the times Zoph praises
It's
Bruno
Bruno.
in this podcast, okay? Like, I'm not doing any of it. Let Zoph do it. So that's
Yep.
two.
Fixtures are in play, man. It's all about fixtures and just minutes. Once I see the guys getting an assist and getting 3 bonus when there are how many other scorers in the game? Couple of 3 other scorers, right?
This has been Bruno forever, always. But anyway, we'll come to Bruno.
We'll come to
But on Salah, I think two other things I wanted to add. Thing number one is he was also unlucky. Let's also call things unlucky. Like Gakpo hits the post twice on a Salah assist, right? So, like, come on another day in 2024-25 season, one of those goes in, and then Salah scores his goal. He comes away with a 13-15 pointer, which Salah does. So it's a little bit of also we're doing a little bit of hindsight, but there is no doubt about it that even the ingredients that are going into the output are not there. And the second thing was minutes, exactly. Second thing was minutes. If you're taken off on the 85th minute when you're down, that is a signal that you're sending to the player, to the team, to the crowd, that this is not my main man at the moment.
That was pretty much a death blow for me. You're not getting the 90 plus minutes from Salah at 14.4 million. Just doesn't make sense.
Gakpo looked interesting though. Like on another day, Gakpo becomes a bandwagon. Like he scored like a hat trick. Like he hit the post 4 times, 3 times, something like that.
3 times.
And missed that sitter.
Shout out to Baker. He's been on this from game week 2. He's just been telling us that Gakpo is the only one who's playing to the level of last year. Not a single person in the team really is. Maybe Gravenberg, you could say, but even McAllister, Van Dijk also to a certain extent.
Is doing all right.
Sobo is doing all right. Van Dijk's performance levels have dropped. Konate has dropped. Now Alisson also isn't there. The fullbacks are looking shambolic. So that's a team I think we need to wait on. And the thing is, now look at the schedule that's coming up. We'll talk about, let's just go here right now. Now they have this week, they have a Champions League game against Eintracht Frankfurt. And then they have Brentford, then Palace, then Villa, Madrid, Man City. So these are tough games, man. Palace, Madrid, Man City in the space of 10 days. That's when we can see, right? They can come back. Then we can see the proof will be there in the pudding. We can go there around game week 12.
And the worse your team's form is, the less you're likely to rotate. Like, let's say you're on a 6-game streak, right? Against Crystal Palace, you can say, this season, Carabao Cup.
You mean the better your form is, the less likely you're to rotate?
No, what I mean is if you're playing very badly, right? Let's say they get 1 draw out of the next 2 games. Brentford is a draw. Now you're on 4 losses and 2 draws and 1 win or something like that. Crystal Palace at home in the Carabao Cup, he'll be like, man, I need to play Salah. I need to play Isak. Like I don't think you can start resting them because results actually matter. You can't afford to have a bad game is what I'm trying to say.
There's that aspect of it, but there's also now temptation to rip things up a little bit. Right now, I can actually say that Salah starting is not working. Maybe I should play Ekitike, who's actually been
Oh,
one of my
general
better
minutes, I
players.
agree. General minutes, I agree.
And
But what I'm saying is,
unpredictability goes up.
yeah, this I fully agree. Fully agree. Like what I mean is, he can't put out the kids against Crystal Palace in Carabao Cup
Absolutely.
because they have a tough schedule.
Absolutely. You need to get the winning feeling going. That's very important,
That's
especially
what I mean.
considering it's a home game.
And Palace are their bogey team, man, like major bogey team.
Yeah, because Palace are going to go full strength. Glasner already said pretty much now. I think he's going to rotate in the Conference League. He sent that signal, and then he's like the other few games, unless my medical team says so, I'm not going to rotate.
He's such a contrarian, man. Here they are, people are like managing players like months after injury or whatever. This guy's like everyone 90 minutes. Munoz, you're running up and down every game. Just play every game. That's fine.
But don't
You
you
don't
think
need
it's
to
going to
rest.
catch up to them? Plus, let's look at Palace's schedule. Ignore the conference game. They have Arsenal away, then Liverpool away, then Brentford. Alkmaar again is at home. All these help, right? And then Brighton. A lot of games for them in the short period. I think maybe
It
the
is. It is.
in terms of like a Palace, like load up. Somebody like me was thinking of loading up on triple Palace. Should I be concerned?
It's a little reactionary, I have to say. Like how people are ditching. Like this week, selling João Pedro for Mateta is not it, man. I have seen a lot of people do it. One is playing away to Arsenal, one is home to Sunderland. Like, okay, long term, you want to have one attacker, one defender, makes sense. Their defenders are good. They have good minutes. But to suddenly go like, I'm just going to triple up and go all in, this team could have 2-3 games where they get a draw because they have tired legs, Christmas schedule catching up with them. Like after game week 12, the rotation cannot happen for you in FPL because the games are also midweek games. So you better have all these players starting every single week. With Palace, there is limited rotation. So right now, there's no concern. But I'm not sure I'm ready to say, okay, I can have Sar and Mateta for the rest of the season because their attack looks so good and their data is so good. I'm still a little wary. Like pick one and maybe be okay with that structure wise. And I think that's okay. We don't have to suddenly say, Palace is the best attack. There are other good attacks and good players from other teams.
Very interesting, but again, are we talking about diversifying for the sake of it? Because we'll present the data. Sar at 6.5, looking like one of the standout players in his position. Maybe he doesn't have the root 2 points like an Endai in terms of DEFCON penalties and things like that. But even you look at that game against Bournemouth, he's just lingering there. You're a Sar owner. I'm
Yeah.
sure you watched it very closely. It's always there
Yeah.
with Mateta. He's not like he's anywhere back. He's pretty much a second striker. Always just a few feet away from him. He almost scored from that Gay pass as well. And again, we talk about XG hogs, right? And again, we talk about coverage versus talisman. These two guys just hog so much of the XGI in that team.
Add Munoz also. These three guys.
These three guys is pretty much everything. Now, at the same time, you look at somebody like a João Pedro. Again, not an apple to apple comparison, but let's say when Palmer comes back, when Delap comes back, the goal share is spread around.
Yep. No, look, forwards is a different conversation to midfielders. I think with forwards, we have been saying every single pod that they are no good forwards. Like Wildcard has tried, they were Pedro, they went Bowen. Now Voltemate worked. He did well, and he looks like a good pick. But again, he's not guaranteed on penalties. So Mateta becomes like the obvious second striker if you want to spend that much money. Now, this week is maybe not the best entry point, but you know what? On Wildcard, you can equally just go for him and start Krupi Jr. Like I think those options are available to us this year, and I don't know if that's in your latest draft or not. So there are workarounds, but clearly going down the pecking order, if you want a player who is talismanic, plays 80 to 90 minutes, is on penalties, plays for a top 8 team, there are very few, pretty much none, apart from after Haaland. It's only Mateta.
Anything else to say on Salah?
No, I think people who don't have him, and that's a big majority now. Um, I would just say don't give up on him. And still, I would say my recommendation on try to save transfers going into game week 12, game into 13 still holds. Because remember, especially if you have a free hit as well, there may be some routes which you can take to get 2-3 Liverpool. And then when Salah is not there and Liverpool are firing, because Liverpool will fire. Let's be clear about this. They're not going to finish seventh, right? Like
Not going
they
to
will
finish
they
seventh,
will
but it
figure
could
it
take
out.
time. Even the same thing we said about
Okay,
Guardiola,
we're
right?
talking month and a half away.
Yeah.
Like when Salah goes to AFCON, you will want your Liverpool players. So I'm just saying, like keep some transfers and be open to getting Liverpool players at the right time. It could be any one of them. It could be Gakpo, it could be Ekitike, maybe he starts getting minutes, could be Isak, could be Salah. I'm still not they're still the second or third best team in the league. Maybe now closer to third.
What is your advice for holders? And let's talk about somebody who has wildcard in hand or not. A lot of people who wildcarded already and they kept the Haaland. Salah structure. So for them to get Salah back down the line, if they sell him and spread the funds around, might be trickier. Pretty much then have to decide I won't go for Salah. If you have a wild card in hand, I think it's an easier decision. Right now, short term, sell him and then wild card him back in 12 once you see the things improve. But for the former
Yeah,
guys, what do you think?
it's hard to hold, man. Like, how can you make a case? Again, the comparison is not whether you hold him or Haaland. How you have to have Haaland. If you have him, then you don't have Saka, then you don't have a second Arsenal defender, then you probably don't have a Bruno. It's very hard to make a case of why you would do that and sacrifice all those other good picks. Like we were debating this on our wildcard, right? That you could go Salah instead of Saka, but are you sure that Salah's even going to outscore Saka? Like you're willing to take 4 million more. Saka didn't like he looked
It's
amazing
amazing.
in that
I
game.
can't believe he
Yeah.
got bonus and DEFCON, man.
But he also missed like he almost got a penalty. He had that shot where he could have scored. Like with him, it looks like, there are points coming. Like any
He's
game, the
back,
points
fully back.
exactly. Not even accounting for the corners, where every corner is almost like a goal. So it's very hard to say right now why you would have Salah and not Saka.
Agree with you. I think you sell him on. Again, it's not very difficult to get him back if you have to. And again, talk about it. There are other options you can look to for captaincy with Haaland
Hmm.
firing it this way. I found this graph quite interesting. Rob T posted this, keeping in mind this is from game week 8, but I don't think the bookie's orientation will change significantly with just one game week, right? So I think it's still
Yeah.
worth look into. So on the x-axis, you have the defense. On the y-axis, you have the attack. And so obviously the top three teams you can see in the top right quadrant, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, are still in a league of their own. You'd expect Liverpool, of course, to drop a little bit, both in attack and defense, but obviously they're not reacting to it on the strength of just 8 games. It'll move gradually as the season goes on. What is interesting for me over here, now you look at Newcastle over here, in terms of defensively, they talk, their numbers are quite good. Chelsea, defensively, obviously worse, but attack wise, still pretty much a top four attack. But now, again, the teams which are battling relegation, you looked at them in the bottom left, you have West Ham, Burnley, Wolves, Sunderland, Brentford, and Forest. And I think that's quite accurate. I think these are the 6 teams you might see in that battle. Maybe Leeds get tossed in there as well. Based on what we saw from West Ham last season, we were talking about it before we started. They're in for it.
Yeah. This chart tells you where, almost summarizes the table, right? That bottom left quadrant is where the relegation race should happen. And these teams, promoted teams, are a lot better. Like this scale, if you put last year's promoted teams, it would be actually, you would have to lift the scale because they would be a lot lower. So it's all relative. Of course, Burnley could be the worst defense in the league, but they're still a decent defense. One of the things that Neil tweeted, the editor from Fantasy Football Scout, is the promoted teams have already kept the same number of clean sheets after 8 game weeks than they had all season, which is massive. Like, what are we talking here? Like these three teams. So there's that end of the spectrum, and at the top end, there's Arsenal defense is like so clear of everybody else that it's a joke. So that's, I think, no news to anybody. But the attack is interesting, right? Look, Liverpool attack is still, despite whatever we say, even in the game against Man United, they created enough chances. So there is going to be some juice there. We just don't know which juice.
Absolutely. And you look at how bunched up the teams are in the middle. And that's why we're seeing those results are so unpredictable, right? Today, you can't really call
Yeah,
a Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton, Villa. Leeds is something very interesting over here. Look how much better they are defensively than the other guys.
correct. Defensively, they're all pretty much the same. There's some differences in attacking strength, but defensively, they're all the same.
It's all pretty much just rising vertically in terms of horizontally.
Yeah,
They're all pretty much within 1.1 of each other. Found this quite
correct.
interesting in that sense. What else do we talk about? I think that's about it from over here. Let's just dive into yeah. What I've done over here, I prepared a watch list of players I'm considering for my wildcard, and I think this makes sense for those guys also who have wildcarded in game week 6 or are planning to wildcard in the future, right? We can sort of like rank these players, which one is a buy, sell as we go along. So you guys can maybe take a screenshot of this, keep this handy. But plus, I think before we talk about these players, let's just go into the stats. And I think that will
Hmm.
contextualize it a little bit.
Sure.
So let's start with the players first. And this is now player stats, XGI. Now this includes penalties. This is not XG non-pen. This is overall XGI. Now you expect Haaland to be on top of that. And I think all the top 4 guys, barring top 5, barring Gakpo, they've all taken at least one penalty. Bruno's taken 3 over here. I think Semenyo has also taken one, you could say the top 6 over there. So Haaland is way out on top, 9.44. Mateta, 8.23. Look at the number of big chances. Plus Haaland 17, Mateta 5. Now, even if you count the Bournemouth game as an outlier, let's say the 6 big chances, let's halve that. Even let's say you'd say he got 12.
He's still third or second.
This second by huge margin. Look who's next now. The next you have Semenyo at 7. Then you have Thiago at 8. And that's because he played West Ham. I think he had 2 or 3 again. I think Woltemade is interesting considering limited game time. He's had 5 big chances. But Mateta is absolutely in the league of his own. If you're having as many big chances as Haaland, you have to take notice of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whether it is, I don't remember this happening last year, whether attacking data was so good. Is it chance? Is it not? It's 8 game weeks now. But I feel like every Crystal Palace goal has this format where there is a defender or maybe Sar who's now bearing down on one of the sides. He then cuts back to whoever's in the center of the box, and then they get like a not a tap in, but they are 6 yards from the goal, and then they shoot. Like, there's so many goals. In fact, the fourth goal that Mateta missed was also something similar to that. So maybe it's a case of they're creating a lot bigger chances, and therefore the data is better. But look, there's 2 penalties in there. Despite that, like you said, this is great numbers, and it's not like their fixtures were amazing. Like, of course, I had Mateta home to Sunderland, he did nothing, but like he still had good data in that. I think good pick, man. Like, but I also think you can also go with a structure where you have 2 cheap forwards, like one non-playing forward and a cheap forward like Thiago, and that also works. It really depends on what you do with the money.
Absolutely. But again, the fact that he's on penalties is a big draw. And I expected the minutes to be cut in with Nketiah a little bit. But the more I think about it, I think Nketiah is going to get more minutes in the conference. I think from game week 10, he really is as close to a must-have as you can get.
Let's say João Pedro scores against Sunderland finally. Will you still do it? Because he still has 2 good fixtures, like Wolves and Burnley.
It depends on your state of transfers first. Now, if you're somebody who wildcard in game week 6, you have 3 to 4 transfers. I think you do it.
I don't know, man. Like this, I feel it is a little reactionary to the hat trick. Like we were not even.
No, he was there.
He's fine.
He
You
was
can
there in
get
terms of
him.
the data. We highlighted it being that wildcard pod. It's just that so much underperformance was happening at that point. And
Yeah.
LR mentioned this, right? The problem is the catch-up game is gone. I remember a few years ago, you had Southampton when you had Tadic. Mad chance creation numbers every game, but just constantly either he would miss the chance, his players would miss the chance, then boom, they go 7-0. 1 game home to Sunderland. So there's always this one game where the XG underperformers usually catch up. And the worry with Mateta is you've missed that.
Yeah. But look, data underlying. So there is one case of you missed a hat trick when the data was poor. And now you're like, okay, are you chasing points? With him, it's not like you're chasing points. You're chasing also, forget the output. You're chasing good underlying data, penalty taking striker for a team who's playing well. So it's fine. I just question whether good players need to be sold for him. Like people selling Bowen after his blank, right? I mean, he's still got Burnley at home. Like fixtures still matter, right? I mean, this season it's not working out. I know that I can't use empirical evidence to show because you hold Watkins for fixtures.
Especially
It's not
Bowen,
worked out,
man.
but it's not
Based
the
on
season.
what I saw yesterday, I think Bowen is just like someone you just have when you have the options like Mateta out there and even Woltemade now. Short term, I'd find it very difficult to show patience with them because it was really bad yesterday.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm still a fixture blocks guy. You have to get people for 3, 4 blocks. You can't just change your beliefs after one. Like Mateta is still the same player. Bowen's still the same player that you picked last week. But unless you feel it's a fundamental mistake, but
Yeah, with Pedro,
we'll
I would
see.
still,
Let him play
yes.
Arsenal.
Yeah, with Pedro, it's still a decision, right? And again, Mateta, obviously, nobody's moving this week. But with Bowen, I think he moved this week. Not necessarily this week. Okay, fine. This week you have Mateta away to Arsenal, but again the week after. Give Bowen at least a Leeds fixture. Now he blanks again and more than blanks, doesn't show any underlying data, then it's time to go.
Right. Fair enough. But yeah, data is now it's starting to take shape. So apart from those guys, there's a lot of interesting midfielders here, which are all very popular. So of course Bruno is there, Enzo is there, Semenyo, Imbumo, Indai, Sar. I think pretty much this is the wish list right now for people who wanting to buy midfielders, right?
Yep.
And Saka is not here because
Saka is
he's
here,
not played enough.
he's there in the top
Oh, it is
20,
Saka.
considering he's there right after
Oh, he
Welbeck.
is, yeah.
He's more than Minte already. And he's already caught up to Salah.
Oh man.
Crazy. And that's his Voltemade is somebody with the limited data, like you mentioned, is coming up. Munoz is the only defender who shows up over here.
It's sad, man. Now none of us own Munoz. Are you gonna own on Wildcard? Some
We'll talk
preview? Can you
about
give
it,
us?
man. We'll talk about in terms of money. I'm finding it very, very difficult. And right now, it's going to be my third defender because obviously your Timber and Gabriel are locks. I'm thinking the third spot I need to use for a cheaper DEFCON guy.
Yeah, whenever Munoz does well, there's a little bit of sadness
I
because we
miss
are
in
all so
us.
big
We
on
are
him.
such
Like LR
fanboys.
and I were also texting while the game was going on, and when Munoz got the second assist, we were both like, "Come on, yeah! Like, what is this? Yeah." So we were like, he should be in our team. Like other people should not enjoy his points, but it is what it is.
Let's talk about Gyökeres also, because again, he's a big dilemma for people who have wildcarded him in around game week 6. And again, the data for Gyökeres, it does include, I think, I'm not sure if this includes a Leeds penalty now. We're talking, oh, yeah, of course it does. It's full season data.
Yeah.
But chances created is low, big chances created is 0, but the XGI still is there. Shot volume is still there. But plus, again, it comes down to some. If you have to rejig now, let's say we get news that Krupi is available, at least for the short term. And the thing with Krupi, even if Evan Nilsson, let's say, is back, we don't know the length of return yet. Maybe he's back by 10, 11, or most likely post the IB. Krupi is still going to get minutes in December, I think. If not necessarily starts, maybe the odd start when they have a 3-game week. But the last 10, 20 minutes of games, he's going to be coming on. And he's very different to Evan Nilsson. He's actually wants to score. Not like
Yeah.
that's why this guy Iraola likes Evan Nilsson so much because he makes a team function. But I think Krupi, as now as an eighth attacker, is just useful because you want that spot to either be a striker rather than somebody like a king, right? Because a striker, even if he
This is
comes
the
on,
thing. Like this is the thing. Like I agree. Now I don't know how much you'll play him after. Like this week you have visibility. Once Evan Nilsson is fit, you'll never actively play him. So I mean, it's okay as a third bench, but I also think this is what I did on wildcard as well. People who are not on bench boost or don't care about that slot, I think the third forward slot is the one to kill rather than your fifth midfielder slot or your necessarily your fifth defender. Although they're very good 4.0 defenders this year, but the third forward feels like a spot where structurally, if you then allocate your other transfers to maybe the other 7 attackers, even in those 7 attackers, you're not moving Semenyo and Saka for the foreseeable. In many cases, Bruno for the foreseeable, Haaland for the foreseeable. You can actually do a little bit of moving around your team, juggling around the structure quite well around the fixtures.
I agree. I'll be tempted to do that something like, Gyökeres to a Krupi and Saka up in midfield. Because I'm just convinced the route through points is there. It's going to feel like a luxury transfer and you're never going to get around to it. But I think with the fixtures to come, I think Saka is somebody I'd be more happy to hold. Let's say around game week 15, 16, maybe you want to look at him for captaincy. Just a much more reliable option than Gyökeres.
And this also interplays with the Salah discussion, right? Like if we were all saying, oh, you need Salah by game week 12 and Haaland, then you can't have Saka. But the increasing chance is that we say, you know what, I'll just get Salah on free hit, or I won't get Salah, or won't get Liverpool. I'll just get Gakpo from Liverpool. In that case, Saka is the second best mid. Palmer is not fit. Isak is not an option. So then you want to get on that second best mid sooner rather than later. It's a little awkward. Anyone who does it, because what they fear is Gyökeres scores a brace and then you look like an absolute idiot if you do it. But there is logic to it. Like there is understandable logic. You're doing it at a time where you think Gyökeres minutes will come down eventually. Havertz is back training, and I think the tweet today said that he should be back starting in a month's time. So this is still away. There's still 4 game weeks to a month, which is the international break. But you still are doing a move which you think long term you want the second premium as Saka. And so in that context, I think it makes sense to do it. If you have the luxury of transfers.
Some other names, Enzo is a big one, like we mentioned, is back training. But I always find Enzo's data quite interesting. Now, look at the goal attempts in the box, it's just 8. Out of which 8 of those, 6 have been big chances. Okay, one is a penalty. Let's do 7 and 5. Such a high ratio, right? So that boosts up his XGI. The chance creation numbers are actually very low. Only 8 chances created, and they all remember not a single big chance. It's always all XG. And for Enzo. And what I like is now the next few fixtures are all against teams which are most likely deep blocking. Now I include Spurs in that as well. That's the time where Enzo gets that license to move forward. And again,
Right.
penalties we expect. I think even Palmer, we expect him back around game week 12. I don't think he'll necessarily start against Burnley right away because you have Arsenal the week after. The idea would be
Right.
to give him a few minutes there, give him a few minutes in the UCL, and have him starting versus Arsenal. So at least for the next 4 game weeks, you're getting penalties as well, most likely with Enzo.
Right. No, I think he's like we were saying on Wildcard, right? If somebody told me that Enzo's not going to play, I would have still picked him on Wildcard because as long as the injury was minor, which it looks like what it is, and of course we're podding before the UCL game, and if he even is on the bench, I think he's a fine transfer in because he's like assuming Maresca says the right things in the press conference. I think he's a fine pick. He's talismanic to an extent. Chelsea do spread around the goals a little bit, but in the context of he has route to points, these are low block teams. I think he's a solid pick, man. Like I think one of the outcome regrets I have was that he didn't play that Forest game, right? Of course, João Pedro also blanked, but look what Pedro Neto did, right? So there were points there for the taking. And for somebody like an Enzo, he could have done well in that game. So a little bit of regret, but I'm happy to have him, and hopefully he can get a string of starts.
Now, if you have somebody like an Endai, we're going back to your game week 6 guys. Do you move him on for Enzo this week? Because Endai again we saw against Man City, we've seen against Liverpool also. I think in one more game he's capable of DEFCON. The main problem for me, Endai now again I've been watching him a bit more closely. Is not Endai, it's Beto.
He's lost and die at least 10, 12 points in the last 2, 3 game weeks. He's a baller, man. Like, he's a good player. Like, I think he's underrated because he plays for Everton. And people who don't watch Everton a lot, they're like, yeah, he's a rubbish player. Like, he's a really good player. And now it's clear that he's on penalties. It was pretty clear. I mean, people are rubbishing his pick in game week 1. You remember Anderson and Die template, Anderson and Die. I think he's just a solid pick, and I don't think it's as straightforward because it really depends. Like Enzo's a good pick for 4, 5 weeks. Indai is a good pick for 12 weeks. But then the question is, if you have so many
Not
transfers,
12
what are
weeks
you
plus
doing?
he goes to AFCON.
Of course, okay, 10, whatever,
8
nine
weeks.
weeks.
8 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So he's a good pick for the foreseeable, and I wouldn't sell him just because he's going to AFCON. It's a two taste. Like I think in Dye you can keep, and Dye you can sell. It's up to you.
Where would you rank these three guys now? Endai, Mateta, so not Mateta, Endai, Sar, and this one. Enzo. If you have to pick two this week.
I mean, I picked on wildcard, right? So I picked Ndai as third, so I didn't pick him. I picked Sar and Enzo. I would, if Enzo is 100% fit, I would put him above Sar.
So for you, it would be Enzo, Sar, Endai.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you in terms of Enzo being ahead of the two purely because of the fixtures and the XG his team generates. But with the other two, it's close. Because with Sar, he has absolutely no routes to points. Most likely is usually goal. It's always feast or famine. You're going to get a lot of
Yeah,
blanks with Sar, but you will get the occasional 15 pointer. With Endai, it's
correct.
quite the other way around. He hasn't double digited yet, but you're going to get a lot of 5s, 6s, and 7s with him.
Correct. And similar picks from an FPL point of view. You're never going to captain them. You'll probably always start them. So pick one of the two. Like you can even have both. Like I genuinely feel a 5-man midfield without even one of those stacks or Dewsbury Halls, like get proper 5 midfielders, get 2 proper strikers, and a dead spot striker is probably what the meta is right now.
Yep.
So therefore, within 5, if you're talking Saka, Bruno, Semenyo, then in the other two, it's really dependent on your budget and fixtures, right? So you can get Enzo and Sar, which I have. You can have Indai, and it's fine to keep him as well. Like it is taking a transfer.
So Endai, the fixtures are a little bit interesting now. The next three are Tottenham, Sunderland, Fulham. Now these are marked in green on the Lego Mane ticker. But again, Tottenham, they've been decent from home, away, especially defensively. They're not really a poor defense. Sunderland at home, good defense, and Fulham are just even now. Of course, this is Anderson news dependent. You don't look at that and go like, oh yeah, easy fixture. So are these fixtures really that good for Everton in the short term? And then right after that, you have Manchester United, Newcastle, Bournemouth. Forest is good. Then you have Chelsea, Arsenal. So the fixture run also, again, with Endai, you're hoping he's going to get DEFCON in these. But in terms of ceiling, I think it's a bit more limited, right, compared to the other two.
Yep. This is why I had him third. Not that I don't rate him or anything, because then after that, for that really nice run from 18, he's not there.
It's not there.
So that's the issue. That but Everton are they show up against these teams. So it's not like he won't. You already said it, so I don't need to repeat it. He'll get his in one of these games. He'll get an assist. One of these games he'll get DefCon. One of these games he'll get a goal.
Penalty.
It won't probably happen in one game altogether. So he'll trickle 5, 6 points, which is fine.
I like holding him still, and maybe you can move him on to somebody like Minte. I look at Brighton's fixtures now in this hop out ticker from around 12. Brentford, Nottingham, Villa, West Ham, then Liverpool, then Sunderland, Arsenal first, West Ham only. Brighton's run, like you mentioned earlier regarding Verbruggen, is really good from 12 on.
It's the sexy home games for Brighton that are really appealing. Like even if your Minte is rotating with your fourth defender, for example, Leeds at home, Brentford at home, Villa at home, West Ham at home, Sunderland at home, Burnley at home, all happening in the next 10 weeks. There's just very good goal scoring fixtures. So I think Brighton like are good. They showed against Newcastle. They're a solid team. In defense, whether you trust them or not is a different question. This is why the Verbruggen question mark. But in attack, there's still a decent attack. Minte gets all the minutes now. Like Minte is proper nailed 90-minute player.
But what has also happened is he's shifted. Earlier he was playing on the right wing. Now he's playing on the
Yeah,
left wing.
he's
That
trying
isn't
him on
as
the
good.
left.
That isn't as good
Hmm.
for his goal thread. Maybe creativity is a little bit there, but I've noticed a dip there in terms of. So
Yeah,
that is the one thing that's annoying me.
Herschler even mentioned that I'll move him to this side and it'll maybe he won't score as he even said maybe he
Hmm.
won't score as many, he'll create. And I'm like, dude, I don't want that. So actually it's one of the reasons why I was like, I don't want Minte then. Like let me monitor the situation and then I'll see by game week 12. Because you really want him, if you really want him, you can wait until game week 12 and then get him for the like you'll miss Leeds at home, but at least like it's not an urgent that you have to get him. So my thinking was maybe game week 12, if I need funds, somebody can come down to a Minte.
Now with Palace, after Arsenal, you see they have a 5 block run. Now, very few teams you see on this ticker over here, you find a 5 block run. You usually find 2, 3, 4. Liverpool are the ones you see from 12 to 16. But apart from that, Palace and from 10 have Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, Manchester United, and Burnley. Even Fulham away isn't bad. Man City is at home. Then you have Leeds, Tottenham, Fulham, which are all at home. I mean, there's not a single fixture you can go and say from 10 for Palace. It's a tough fixture.
Yeah, yeah. Agree with you. Though both Manchester clubs are at home. So only Newcastle away by game week 20. That's why Munoz is also attractive, man. How many players? Like, how do you get so many players? This is the problem. Like, Palace all look attractive, and there's only 3 picks. I mean, you can get other DEFCON monsters. Richards, I think, is also a good pick. Lacroix, I think, is disappointing a little bit. He's always behind Richards in defensive contributions. He's not a
Yeah.
Munoz in
And
attacking
he's not a
threat.
Gay who's getting the attacking
He's
returns.
exactly. So I mean, his time will also come. So if you have Lacroix, stay patient because Crystal Palace do generate a lot of defensive contribution points, just the way they play. All defenders pretty much are in the running.
Who else do we have? No. Gakpo, like you mentioned, very good data. A lot of this is from that last game, but the shot volume, look at that, right? 15 attempts in the box, just 5 on target. That's a switch. Only 3 big chances. He's been more
He's taking
selfish.
them though.
He's
He's
been,
taking. Yeah, that's what I mean.
he just wants to shoot. He's just getting his head down every time. It's sort of the thing that I want to be the main man now for this
There
team.
used to be a time where Liverpool attackers used to be scared of Salah. Like we've all seen it. Like they used to whenever you see Salah free, the Liverpool attacker is about to shoot. They're like, okay, fine, you have the ball. Like this is not happening now. This is maybe just a happenstance, but Gakpo isn't looking for anyone else. Ekitike doesn't look for anyone else. Isak has his own problems. The guy is just he's missing. So I think an informed Isak will be good for the whole team and for Salah. But at the moment, Gakpo looks really good.
Agree.
But
But again,
Ekitike can't be on the bench forever, man.
as what it goes about, like again, now Gakpo also we talk about like he will eventually lose minutes, but if you're the best player in the team right now, the minutes will be secure. Until they aren't, just randomly will get
Yeah.
benched.
He did this thing where, I mean, they were behind, but he brought on Ekitike, kept Gakpo, kept Isak, brought on Wirtz, moved Szoboszlai to the right back, and I was like, what the hell is this formation? But I think we need to monitor this. Is he going into this two up front with Gakpo and Salah on the wings kind of thing, like an old 4-4-2 type formation? I don't know. But it's weird. I think they'll go back to 4-3-3 or the traditional 4-3-3, especially when not chasing games. And in that case, Gakpo, Ekitike, Isak just are going to eat each other's minutes far too much for my liking.
Okay, and I think you give them this entire period, the whole fixtures with Madrid, see what comes out on the other side, and then you go there.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Semenyo is an interesting one. We have a Discord dilemma question we'll talk about now. If you don't own Semenyo, is now the point to buy him? Because after Forest, I think they have Man City and Villa, and then it gets a little bit better.
Look, as somebody who got on late as well, um, these are not the types of picks you want to take 80% EO on. Like, you have to play the game, right? If you don't want to get him, we've talked about many midfielders, right? You instead of sacrificing one of Ndai, Semenyo, or Enzo, get all three. Don't get Semenyo if you really want to get Eze. Like there's many midfield picks that are viable, but there's very few midfield picks that are on many times on penalties. Now with Brooks out, Kluivert's going to start more. So if you want some confirmation bias of not going Semenyo, maybe Kluivert will start more games. So then maybe Semenyo isn't on penalties. But Kluivert hardly lasts more than 60 minutes. Semenyo plays 90 minutes every single game. So you're taking a player on who's playing 90 minutes, who's on penalties for a third of every game. And in some games, Kluivert doesn't start. So let's say 50% of every game. He's not going to AFCON. Bournemouth's fixtures are really good. So it's not like you can avoid him because his fixtures get bad. Actually, his fixtures get better. So take your chances, man. I mean, it's a game you play against other people. And at some point, I was like, when I watched this team, Semenyo didn't get the second assist. He could have come away with 2 assists in this game. So it's just not a player I personally like to take on. He's changed this season. His dynamics, he's taking direct free kicks as well. You just get him, man.
The routes to points is a game changer. Occasional DEFCON, free kicks, penalties, few minutes. I just think not one. And again, the price is just going to keep getting farther away from you. Again, close to a price rise this week.
Even I have 0.3 tied in him. Like I was the last one on him.
The next one, Boomo. And LR has been in my ear all week that don't buy Bruno, buy Boomo. And I understand that, right? In terms of the open play goal threat we're talking about over here, it's significantly different. Boomo, 15 shots in the box, Bruno, 9. Big chances you have Boomo 4. Bruno, out of which of the 4 he's had, 3 of them have been penalties, right? The other big chance was against Chelsea. It was a set piece situation. But what really put me off was the guy scores a goal, no bonus. The other guy, 1 assist, bonus. And another thing that's happened. Of course.
I mean,
we know
yeah,
this.
go on,
we
go
know
on.
this. What I was saying now that the form of Mount has also concerned me a little bit about the minutes. Now, Boomo is a bit different because he's the only left-footed player out of Sesko, Mount, and Cunha. And that you could say that maybe the right wing role is exclusively his, but the minutes are going to be eaten into, I think.
Well, Mbumo's off to AFCON as well. So now you're going to, guys, sorry, on the podcast, you're going to hear AFCON a lot more. The closer we get to game week 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think he's a good pick. He's nailed. He's going to start every game. So I think Mbumo is the one solid pick. Cunha will lose minutes. Mount will lose minutes. Sesko will lose minutes. Between the three, two will play. Ahmad will lose minutes. Not that Ahmad is a pick. Mbumo and Bruno are both nailed. Like they're the solid picks. They are the ones who deliver. They're fit enough. They take set pieces. Both are good picks. I don't think it's comparable though. Like
why is
I
it
think
not
Bruno is the
comparable?
far
Just 'cause
superior pick.
far superior play. You think it's worth the 0.9 extra?
I think so. It's just both. This game week was the exact answer, right? One scores, the other gets an assist. Who got more points? Mbumo pretty much never get DEFCON points. Man United will have games where they do rubbish. That's just how we've been over the last 5 years. So both will blank. But who will get the 16-pointer? It'll always be Bruno. So I think Mbumo is a good pick, but let's not compare these two picks. Like I think it's a bit like maybe Eze and Saka is a little broader in terms of the difference between the two. But for me, it's similar in the sense of one is a captain on penalties who gets route to points
Could you say
versus
Saka
the other.
Gyökeres? It's a little bit similar.
No. Gyökeres is better. Like the gap is smaller, I feel.
That's interesting because I think LR's been the completely different opinion. He's like Boomo is far and away the better pick.
See, but if you look at it, I mean, LR and I discussed this at first week of international break. We had this, where I was like, okay, let's not talk about Bruno anymore. Because I feel it is very difficult to explain why Bruno is a good pick, because when you watch the game, you will not be convinced that he's a good pick. But unfortunately, this is a game which is played not just of what you see, it is about how you get route to points. Like, as soon as he got the assist, everyone who owns Bruno knew that was a 6-point assist. That's how it is every game. But I will tell you now, Zoph, owning Bruno is also very frustrating because whenever you need money, he is the cash cow. This is why I haven't gone for him on Wildcard, having said he's great for all season. Because I was like, game week 12, I'll get him. If there's no Salah route, I'll 100% get him. It's a no-brainer to have him, except when you want to have a Haaland Salah team. If you want to have a Haaland Salah team, you cannot have Bruno. So that is why I left myself the optionality. He's hurt me already in one game week. Let's see how much he does in the next 3. If I'm not getting Salah, I'm definitely getting Bruno. Like I just don't see how you can play without having a consistent route to points, 6-point a game player for a whole season. Like very few players can match it.
And the meta, I'm trying to invest in a bit more teams now without Europe, and this applies to Ndai as well. Fixture congestion is a thing, and the thing with Man United, you guys don't even have Carabao Cup. There's literally no, like, apart from your league fixtures in December where you have the midweek Premier League games, until the FA Cup starts, which is also now on weekends now. It's an absolute clear run. 7 days to rest. And I
Correct.
think that will now make a difference more so than the earlier weeks of the season.
Fair enough. Yeah, you can make, I mean, Semenyo, no Europe. Man United, no Europe. Everton, no Europe. So you can take a little bit of that with Sar, which is fine because they never seem to get tired, except like last 20 minutes, which wasn't the case against Bournemouth. There are good picks that are not in Europe. But I don't need to, this shouldn't be news to you that I think Bruno is better than Mbeumo and he's worth the extra. Whether you get him on wildcard is a different thing. I didn't for different reasons.
Okay, with Gyökeres, we've touched upon already. I think Endai, we've discussed. Thiago, quite interesting. I think he's the third highest scoring forward, but Brentford's fixtures, man, they still just put me off a little bit. What have they got in the short term? Now it's Liverpool. Make what you may of Liverpool's defensive woes right now. Palace, Newcastle, Brighton, then Burnley, then you have Arsenal and Tottenham. Bad fixtures, man. No matter which way you slice it, they're not going to play West Ham every week.
Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, agreed.
What the Sarvis discussed, I think Salah, Saka, again, I think we discussed any other particular names. Woltemade, again, good pick. But talking about Woltemade, Pras, now what I've heard about now, Wissa, he's back on the grass, as the liar Eddie House says. Now, we're never going to get a clear picture from him. But what from that tells me, again, game week 12 is 30 calendar days away. And the fixtures for Newcastle, like we mentioned, they have European fixtures coming up around that time. Let me find. Yep. Right after the international break is Man City. Then you have Marseille. Then you have Everton. Then Tottenham, Burnley, Leverkusen also in the Champions League. Then Sunderland, who is obviously the derby rival. So over there now in that period, Poltemade's minutes do become a little bit dodgy, don't they?
You see, form dictates minutes. If he keeps scoring, maybe he becomes one of those guys, right? Like we were talking about this with Mateta. Remember 2 weeks ago, we were like, oh, Nketiah's back. Is he going to start eating his minutes there in Europe? But if he's in red hot form, Nketiah doesn't come on for him. He comes on for Pino instead. So I think if Voltemade keeps doing well, there's no reason why he loses minutes. I think he's looking fantastic. Let's remember him when we talk about new signings and how they take time. For every words, there is a Voltemade. So I think he's doing fine. He's a fine pick. Whether you go for him is again, it's a choice, right? I mean, I personally don't like three big forwards because I think there's enough good midfielders and good defenders in the game. So if you want to choose between him and Mateta, absolutely fine. I think LR has done it. He got points this week. Of course, not as much as Mateta, but he got points, and I think he's very happy with him. So that structure works. And if you wanted to do it, maybe you want to get double Palace defense or you want to leave one Palace slot open. I think all of those things work. But I think getting Mateta, Haaland, and Voltemade, I think you suffer somewhere. Whether you can get a second Arsenal defender or not, whether you can get an Enzo and a Sar or not, or a Semenyo, you have to sacrifice somewhere. So a pick can be good, but also not in your team.
That's pretty much it. I think you're spot on over there, but I really like the fixtures for the short term. Fulham likely without Anderson, West Ham, abysmal. Brentford also away. The fixtures short term are really, really good. And again, Man
Gordon,
City,
please,
good
Gordon,
start.
please do something. I mean, I'm just not getting any differential points this year. So this is what I was thinking. I mean, I was not expecting much from the Brighton game, but the next three games are hopefully good goals.
So rank the 7.5 guys for me. And again, I think I'm not including Bowen in there because I think he would be clearly towards the bottom now. Pedro, Mateta, and Voltemade.
I mean, long term, you have to say the penalty taker out of the three, and there's only
I
one.
mean, let's say if you're now, I think if you're holding Pedro now, it's really not a decision for this week. You're not moving him on for either Voltemade or Mateta this week. But let's say for me on a wild card.
I would still pick Pedro, man. I know you won't like the answer, but come on, look at the fixtures. Like he's got Sunderland at home, he's got Wolves at home, and Burnley away as three of the next four games.
Right, plus, but again, I'm not saying he's a bad pick at all. But again, if you had to pick only one, and again, let's quantify Mateta's stats a little bit in context in terms of the big chances, short volume. Again, penalties. Penalties is making is
You can,
pretty much a clean
they're all
sheet there.
close. I'm going to say they're all close, but I play fixtures, and I can't not have the striker for Chelsea playing these three games.
I mean, he's not necessarily going to play striker, but again, the ticker's quite interesting also, right? Now, let's say if you look from game week 9 and Arsenal, they're just such a big juggernaut in terms of defense, right? Now, just because of the Arsenal fixture in game week 9, now Palace, you see over here on the fixture ticker, are ranked 6th from game week 9. As soon as take it to game week 10, second.
Yeah, I mean, you remove the Arsenal game even from game week. Yeah, that's what I've done. Agreed. Look, I could be tempted into the structure of Krupi and Mateta and playing Krupi this week and not playing Mateta and then getting Mateta from next week. I can understand it. And it saves your transfer as well. If because a lot of people will do João Pedro to Mateta as well.
I think again, not to make a transfer this week, but on a wildcard, getting Pedro in and booking a transfer maybe for on the later few weeks. Because now it's looking like earlier I was thinking that maybe Pedro I can potentially hold him till 15, 16 and maybe even free hit in 13. Get the Arsenal fixture out of the way in that case. But the minutes will be a bit more unpredictable on the other side of the international break, which makes me think that if I'm going to move him on at around 12 or 13, might as well move him on now. There's going to be a bit of short-term pain this week. But again, Mateta could get a penalty. Mateta could get a goal. He's a talisman in that team against Arsenal. It's not a complete write-off.
Yeah, I think you can pick either of João Pedro, Mateta, or Woltemade and not be horribly wrong. You can pick none. You can go too cheap. I mean, I know you have a bench boost left, but I don't think any of these guys are. You have to have him. Mateta is good, but remember 2 weeks ago nobody was talking about him. So I don't want to have an overreaction to the hat trick, or the like. They're all good picks. They're all solid picks. You can have one of them, and I personally prefer the one with the best fixtures over the next four, but it does involve a transfer. So if you're on wildcard, I understand going Mateta as well. And Woltemade is in form. So all three good. I know it's a little bit of sitting on the fence answer.
I think if I were to outright rank them, and again, João Pedro, there is a bit of recency bias also over there. But now keeping in mind, now let's say if you're going to move João Pedro also on, maybe the other side of the international break, I would put Woltemade ahead of him. Just in the short term, because again, I think with Gordon's minutes maybe a little bit dodgy, form not looking that great. Could perhaps seeing minutes managed, you could perhaps see a benching, in which case he takes penalties as well.
Yeah, yep, fair enough.
That's probably that on this we've spoken. Then our players XGI, not pen, some other numbers that stand out over here. Minte, like we mentioned, is good. Estivao's numbers keep climbing. Timber comes to the fore a little bit. Kudus numbers are still a little bit low, and I think you're probably not investing there. If you're holding Kudus, plus it's an interesting one. Keep or sell.
He looks so good, man. He looks really good when you watch him. But fixtures are not there. Like if you go to Spurs' fixtures,
Fixtures are
why would you why would you have a team that is struggling, that has second for bottom fixtures over the long horizon? We've just talked about 6 other midfielders.
Same page. Let's just talk about some team data. Again, XG non-penalty, Palace 15.8. Obviously exaggerated a little bit by the most recent game, but look at the number of big chances, plus 33. That's more than double that of Bournemouth. We talk about Bournemouth being a very attacking side. 33 big chances is absolutely astronomical.
I mean, they've started very, very, very well. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, this is where Sar's numbers are great, Muno's numbers are great, and Mateta's numbers are great.
That's
it's all
the
coming
best part.
from
Yeah,
the pie.
all the three guys.
The biggest pie.
The biggest pie, and you have more, it's just 4 guys hogging the pie, which goes to so many other teams. You have other players doing it. Manchester United numbers continue to be good. Liverpool's numbers are still good. They're moving upwards. Everton also in the top half over here. Quite interesting.
Everton look good. Yeah, Newcastle look poor, man. Like, this is the concern with Woltemade, right? I mean, and my concern as a Gordon holder, like their attacking data has been poor. So we've taken a little bit of a fixtures plunge. It's not a long-term pick anyway. So, but yeah, the data doesn't support the pick. But yeah, Man United, look, I want to also defend. The problem with Mbumo is we were comparing him to Bruno. But you can also look at him in isolation and you can say, here is a midfielder who is taking some corners or all corners on one side. He's taking some set pieces on that side. If there is a goal, he's pretty much making the run. So there's a triangle happening in attack where Bruno passes it to Cunha or to Sesko and then Mbumo makes the run. Cunha, I think, is a little bit of a creator. He doesn't make similar runs. So it's Sesko on the other side who makes the run, unless Cunha is the one playing centre forward. So Mbumo is always making those runs. You can see the penalty that we got given. He was the guy who was through on goal. So I completely get it. Eye test wise and even data wise, Man United third best attack. Mbumo probably the best attacker within the team. But route to points is the question mark. But in isolation, Mbumo is a good pick as well.
So look at your fixtures also, and this is what had me interested. I think the fixtures are pretty good in the short term. You have Brighton, Forest, Forest and Tottenham could be a little bit tricky, especially with Dyche back, but I don't think he'll have enough time to integrate the
Hmm.
players necessarily. And you have Tottenham, and then it gets much better. Everton in 12, really good. And that's again when I think it could be a captaincy option. In 14, that's when Haaland is away to Fulham, also West Ham. In fact, let's just go to the captaincy matrix. It is over here, right? Now, for example, let's look at Haaland over here. Haaland, the tricky weeks for captaincy are potentially 11. Could argue
11 and
Liverpool.
12.
Liverpool are potentially fine. You could say
At the
also.
moment with Liverpool, yeah, I agree. You can just captain Haaland with his form and how Liverpool are playing.
So who are the other alternatives? You're not going to captain Mateta necessarily. Palmer's obviously not available to us. Outside of that, you can't go Chelsea. The only real option that week would be Saka away to
Saka,
Sunderland.
yeah, Saka.
We
If
probably
if
just
you
go
go there,
Haaland
and
there.
but that's the third away game in a week. So now, not that Saka shouldn't start, but you'll be worried. Haaland's
Yeah,
going to play 90 minutes against Liverpool. So I can see in game week 11 everybody talking about Saka all week, but captaining Haaland anyway.
absolutely. Now in 12, you turned up Newcastle away. Now this is potentially the trickiest game over here, and this is why we were looking at Salah when he has Forest at home. That same week, Saka has Tottenham at home. Obviously, that's a big derby game. I think he's a decent option over there. Fernandez has Everton at home. Also a decent option. Semenyo has West Ham. Probably don't trust him as much with the captaincy, but the other two guys are perfectly good options that week to even look apart
I'll
from
be
Salah.
buying a captain this week. I feel like between Salah and Bruno, whether I'm going Salah route or not the Bruno route, I think one of those two guys will be captaincy. But Semenyo's fine, man. Like he's West Ham looked terrible yesterday, right? So home, like if they haven't figured stuff out, can you imagine like Nottingham Forest is the game, right? For no, sorry, we're talking West Ham. West Ham's not here, but West Ham play Burnley. I think from memory, just before they play Bournemouth. So in game week 11,
Yes, you're right.
West Ham play Burnley. So actually, it's here. Bowen is here. So if they lose that or they don't do well in that, can you imagine the pressure? And then they're going to away to Bournemouth. Like it could be a game where there could be a narrative that you could make. It'll be an open week, I think, in week 12. So it'll be two taste. Like this is why I also feel like if you can get to a Salah structure this week, but now it's Shaundash, everything has changed.
Yep. With West Ham, I think the away games will probably be better for them initially because they've lost all their 5 home games this season. That becomes very, very difficult when you are dreading going to play in front of your own fans. Becomes
Yeah.
very tricky. So I think the Leeds game for them is really a big one. And the sad part for Nuno is he has the shortest turnaround possible. Played on Monday, then he's playing again on
It's a
Friday.
midweek game. It's a midweek game. Like Monday, Friday is equivalent of Saturday, Wednesday.
It is.
So they're basically playing on a midweek. So I fancy actually Leeds defenders in this game.
Set piece defending, they were absolutely awful. In the first few minutes, I remember Dango had so many chances. It was back to even worse
Yeah.
than what it was under Potter.
He fixed it temporarily against Arsenal and then it came back.
So again, so captaincy, I think you can potentially again manage a few weeks. Again, in 14 week, we mentioned Haaland, Fulham away. It's again not that bad, man. Fulham can concede to Man City. And again, with Haaland, Pep made a very interesting comment. He's like, I want other people to score now. Haaland can't keep scoring. We're like, no, man, it's fine. Let it
It's
be.
fine. Let us have the talismanic. Look, Haaland is going to regress, and we wait for an interesting time in FPL when that happens.
So, any other thing else you want to point out in terms of attack? So Newcastle, again, like you mentioned, the attacking data isn't that great. And they asked Eddie Howe about it yesterday in the Champions League press conference. And he mentioned that we are a team in transition. We've lost a lot of big players, and he's obviously referring to Isaac, and we have to now change the way we play. And I think that is showing up in this data over here. Even Gordon, what you see now, he's not the kind of guy who's necessarily running at defenders. The previous game, I saw
Hmm.
he's dropping deep and sort of playing that playmaker role almost. So things are changing a little bit at Newcastle, but what's really improved is their defensive data. We'll talk about in the next page. In terms of attack, anything else stand out over here? Brentford isn't as bad as we thought, but yesterday's game inflates that. Leeds, decent, but not scoring the goals.
Yeah. So when you have DCL as your striker, your data is decent, but you don't score the goals. But no, I think Everton are the only surprising. Everton and Crystal Palace, of course, are the two surprises here on a positive side, and on the negative side, I think Newcastle and Spurs were the two surprises here. Generally, Thomas Frank's teams have very good data, whether they convert or not, but their data is very good. So I'm surprised at how he started at Spurs actually.
Yep, and they've only won one home game. I think that was against Burnley. They've had much more success on the road,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
also interesting. I think that has to do a little bit also with how he sets up, right? Away teams come at them a little bit at home and they have to take the game to the opposition. Maybe that's where they're struggling.
Yeah, yeah.
Going back now to the defensive data, right? Newcastle's data is absolutely elite. Now, this did a segment on Monday Night Football yesterday about Arsenal's data. It's only like 0.6 XGC per game, which is up there with the best they've recorded since XG data. They didn't have it obviously
Right.
during Mourinho's time, but during the modern times, it's right up there. So it's on course for it. And I think a large part of the credit has to go to one of your old Man United boys, Heinz. He's apparently the
Hmm.
new defensive coach they've hired this season. But Newcastle's data, man, and this is why I really, really want to get Pope in now. Look at that over there. In terms of big chances conceded, 8 in 8 games, it's ridiculously good. One big chance
Yeah.
conceded per game is elite, elite defensive numbers. And if you look at the open play goal attempts conceded, they've conceded only 47, sorry, 53. Arsenal at 47. Again,
Hmm.
it's not conceding shots. Look at, but and also Leeds, look at that, man. Leeds have 51 shots conceded. That's fewer than Newcastle. Look how high Leeds
Ironically,
data
Leeds
is.
were the only promoted team not to keep a clean sheet this week when many people trusted them. But no, I think look, this is why people do consider like they're thinking should we do Mukiele or whatever. I think Leeds is still the best defense to back if you can get to a 4.1 type slot, maybe both. Like that's a different conversation. But I just think Leeds' defensive numbers now is 8 game week sample, and their fixtures have included things like Arsenal where they took a battering. I think it's good numbers. And Newcastle, look, you guys convinced me. I think long term they're a good long term hold. If you can have a Newcastle defender or goalkeeper, couple of Arsenal defenders or goalkeeper, that's a solid, and some DEFCON monsters. That's the recipe for a good defense.
Brentford being the top five really surprised me. It doesn't match up in
Yeah,
terms
what
of
is
the eye
going on with
test.
that team, man? I can't read that team. Like I won't have been surprised if West Ham won this game 2-0. But turns out completely differently. They absolutely battered West Ham.
I just can't figure out the performances because at home, what you saw, they obviously set up deep block very differently against Man City. They set up very differently against Chelsea, right? So those games are obviously the teams that they don't expect to win. But against West Ham, they absolutely dominated them. But in terms of the underlying data, what's interesting is they have conceded 18 big chances. Palace have conceded 20.
Right.
Everton have conceded 21. So they've conceded fewer big chances in that sense. So again, they're not as much of a pushover, I think, as we thought at the start of the season. They're still a very street smart side.
They're turning it to be a little bit like a Brighton in the sense that manager change doesn't change the system and the ethos kind of thing. But maybe we're jumping to conclusions. Like I still have them as a bottom five team,
Yeah, I
but
think they've
maybe it's wrong.
bottom. That's what they mentioned also yesterday. That's why the West Ham loss was damning. They didn't lose to a team that's the top six side. They've lost to a team that's going to be in the bottom seven, bottom eight.
Competing with them.
That's where they should be. So that's a big, big loss for West Ham yesterday. But again, keep in mind Brentford's data. Fulham's data stays good. I think Anderson, if he is out long term, he's a bit of sort of that Van Dijk guy, the Colville guy in that defense. He does a lot of work in terms of ball progression, not just
Hmm.
defending. That's going to be a big hit for them. Sunderland,
Yep.
decent data in terms of big chances conceded. Again, fixtures have played a mitigating part, but now I think they will potentially shift to a back three now in these tougher games. And they like defending. They're a team that's built to counter attack. So I think the data will be
They're
decent. They
gonna
might
lose their whole team at AFCON, right?
AFCON.
And their fixtures are tough. So I do still worry for them.
Is Mukiele off to AFCON? I'll
He
check
is,
that.
isn't he?
I'm not sure. That'll be interesting. That's something I have to look into. I haven't really thought about that. Yeah. Tottenham, again, data is all right. I think not much else to unpack. Palace being towards the bottom surprises me a little bit, but again, fixtures have played a part. A large part of this XGC was against Liverpool. Large part of it was also against Chelsea, and they have had one more difficult opponent I can't remember right now.
Hmm. Mukiele is French, man.
Oh, he's French. Safe.
Yeah.
And again, let's talk about Chelsea defense a little bit. We saw it last game. Sanchez did keep the clean sheet, but oh my God, man, the
And you
Sanchez
tweeted before the game. You never do that, Zoph.
man, it's crazy. Well, Sanchez clean sheets are just made of different kinds of jam this season. It's ridiculous. First year, the Fulham goal disallowed, the Gehi goal, the Gehi free kick thing disallowed. Forrest missing so many chances. It's
That
incredible.
was a jammy clean sheet for sure.
And look at the big chances conceded. It's 19, ridiculously high. But spin that around, the open play goal attempts conceded is actually quite low. That's the same as
Hmm.
Newcastle. This is the chances we do concede. When we do, are the big chances. Manchester United remain poor. But again, Manchester United data is even more skewed than Chelsea. 51 goal attempts
Four,
conceded. What?
Yeah, but we've played Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and
Man
Man
City.
City. I mean, basically we played the top four.
That's again a reason I
Not that
want
I'm
to downvest in Man United now because
yeah,
the toughest run is out of the way.
absolutely.
Very interesting data. As a lot of teams at the bottom you won't expect. With again, Forest, 26 big chances conceded, more than any other side in the division. It's not something he can fix overnight, Sean Dyche.
Yeah, but he's good for DEFCON. But I think the Rob T chart, you pointed out correctly. What is more important is that teams that play him are now bad for DEFCON. So we need to be watching who plays Nottingham Forest. You're not going to get DEFCON from your defenders.
Absolutely. Speaking of DEFCON, let's just review the guys we have so far. This is from Focal in terms of DEFCON per 90. Sinesi still very much the big dog. Mukiele next, Virgil, Tarkowski, Anderson, Richards, Mavropanos out of the team. I think that is a little
Yeah,
bit
that was
dead.
so strange, man.
The
Both
whole
him
back
and
four, the
Diouf.
whole back four, and Van Bissaka.
Yeah.
I think that maybe
I
a sort
mean,
of thing like, maybe sort of the similar like chuck your medals in the bin sort of thing, just like to give everything a shake up a little bit. But I think he made a big mistake yesterday.
yeah, I don't like Mavropanos has been all right. Maybe he's thinking the midweek game or the Friday game with Leeds to rest or something, but he can't really afford with the results, and especially the Brentford game. Maybe he thought Leeds is even more important, which arguably you will say it is.
Other names now, Keane is an interesting one. We just got news that Brathwaite injury is long term, so Keane's spot in the team looks very secure. He's averaging about 10 DEFCON. And in terms of goal threat, Pras, I think he's significantly better than Tarkowski's. I've noticed he's never the one who's a direct target. He's often playing the flick on, or he's a decoy. Keane's goal threat among centre backs is very, very high.
He's good. I mean, we looked at the fixtures in the context of Indai, so you have to look at your rotation. Like, now we've reached a stage with DEFCON that like we are not now in this chart. There should be no player that you look and go, what is he doing here? Like, this is now known that these are the guys who show up for DEFCON regularly. By the way, Diakite as the last that has been just cropped out, he's not bad either. It's just that Sinesi has done a little better, so everyone's like, why do you touch anybody else? So anybody looking to save money, Diakite is also fine. But these are the names. Now your edge is not picking a defender that does DEFCON. Your edge is to pick a defender that works in a rotation that can get you clean sheets as well. And this is what FPL will become. You get in DEFCON points, yeah, you can celebrate, but pretty much the other guy's player will also probably get DEFCON, or over the season, this will all now even out a little bit. Maybe the casuals haven't caught on the DEFCON stuff, but now it's about find your rotation. Like, who's better between Alderete versus Esteve versus Rodon? Find a rotation. When are you going to play them? Who's better between Tarkowski or maybe Tarkowski is expensive, between Keane and Richards and Anderson or Sinesi? Find a rotation. Like, I think that's what it is now.
Agree with you. So let's go back to the watch list now, Pras. Now that we've contextualized all the player and the team data, and let's do some rankings for each
Yeah.
position. Now, goalkeepers, let me ask you, I think obviously now you say Rea is a standout choice, a bit of a no-brainer, but you obviously have to look at him in terms of isolation with other picks. Are there other picks better in that Arsenal team? So keeping that in mind, who's your top goalkeeper? And let's assume Dubravka is the best second goalkeeper. So let's just pick only one.
Okay, so if you're not going rotation, then Pope is probably the next best, right? If you're going rotation, I'll tell you to consider Sanchez Verbruggen. Once again, I will appeal to you to look at Sanchez Verbruggen. And if you're going ultra cheap, then Petrovic. But Petrovic, you highlighted something pre-pod, which is now a unique problem. What is that?
If let's say you're getting Krupi Jr., who looks like potentially the best eighth attacker in that sense, Semenyo is obviously a lock. If you get Petrovic, you can't get Senesi.
Senesi. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's a problem. Verbruggen is okay. Like, we just showed the fixtures that Minte has. He has some very good home games, and then you get save points in the other games. But you can't trust him.
He doesn't get save
But you
points,
can.
plus he has 13 points in the first 8 games. Okay, but there's one own goal there. I'd make it even 15 points, but it's less than 2 points average per game.
Yeah. Cells. Cells is not a bad option. I know you have him now, but he's Sean Dyche keeper, man.
I know it'll take time, Press. It'll take time to fix that team, right? Because the problem is what you want when to fix and coach a team. You need free midweeks for that. They just don't have them. The Europe thing
This
is
is
a
the problem
problem.
with Forest. It's a major problem. You have no time. They want to actually exit Europe, but they can't.
Now, what about Bob standalone, Press? Let's look at some Solio projections over here in terms of like now clean sheets
If you
the
pick,
next
if
few
you pick
weeks.
Sanchez off,
I might not have a choice. We'll get there, but talk to me first,
I will be
objectively.
clipping that clip of yours telling me not to get Bob Sanchez for the rest of the season, especially if he keeps a clean sheet and Pope doesn't.
Yes, the clean sheet short term, I think you have Chelsea are there second. Sunderland, Wolves, Burnley, and again, game week 13, you can potentially free hit him when he plays Arsenal. And then right after
Sanchez
that
is
is
fine,
Leeds away.
Zoph. You tell me how is Sanchez, Zoph?
But the thing is now, see, Sanchez is a keeper. He's poor. But again, the Chelsea defense. Now, what's interesting is they asked him a lot about Hato yesterday in the press conference, and he said he can play left back, he can play centre back. Now, you look at Reece James, who's delivering points. You look at Cucurella, who's delivering points. But there isn't a single defender in the Chelsea back four. You can put your hat on and tell me this guy is going to start all remainder of the games this season. Very
Yeah,
randomly, he's going to chuck like James out and put maybe an Akyam Pong over there. Your Tossin, your Badia Shiles, all these guys are going to be potentially Chalobas, even Kukurea to a certain extent. They can all be rotated, but I think the guy right now least likely to be rotated is Bob.
he is the nail guy, and he's 4.9.
9.
Maybe he becomes 4.8 even.
He's
I don't know if he's about to drop,
4.9.
but he's good value, man. Like, there's nothing like, okay, he might miss one game. And with a goalkeeper missing a game, who cares? Like, you've got Dubravka, you'll get like 2 save points or 1 save point, and you'll get a 2 pointer. Who cares if a goalkeeper misses? He's not going to come on. So, a 4.9 keeper playing for a top four team, and in their defensive data, they were what, just behind Newcastle. So, top five defense, it's fine. Like, especially if it comes to money, like if you want to save 0.3 now between Pope and Sanchez, and you are desperate for that 0.3, it's not the end of the world, man. You can pick him. Don't worry. You have my blessing.
Thank you. So, yeah, I'd agree with you completely. I think Pope is still very much my top pick over there. I think right after that, again with Petrovic, if you're very convinced you're not going Krupi in that setup, I think it is fine. You could potentially do that. The fixtures are decent. He does get some decent saves as well. Then right after that, maybe Sanchez, then Verbruggen. I think that's about it in terms of keepers.
So the chat says, how do you pronounce his name? Rofs, the Sunderland keeper.
It does, but again, the
But
fixtures plus fixtures just
that's what
don't
I
say
was gonna
so.
say.
But the rotation with Pope is still good. You want to spend
Yeah.
that much. I saw Mark Southern's team. That's what he's done. A lot of spend on goalkeepers, but he got the clean sheet this week. It's
He
already
got
kind of
it
paid
this
off.
week. He got it this week. So yeah, there are. I mean, you can spend money and get a good defense and a rotation. But yeah, perma play Pope or Sanchez is fine.
In terms of defenders, I think Gabriel Timber top, no contest.
Yeah, although Muniz puts up his hand every day, but I would think double Arsenal defenses
Double
has to be
defense.
top. Like, we didn't talk about it, but is there a case for triple Arsenal defense? Like, people who are on Raya and Gabriel, they have Gyökeres.
And they
They
can't
don't
get to
have to go
Saka because they
Saka.
already have
Yeah,
Bruno.
yeah.
In that sense, like, could you
So
potentially get
you
Timber
can
over there?
also just get triple Arsenal defense, but I don't know if that's too much. I don't know if that's like, then you have to commit to playing 4-5 at the back.
No, not necessarily. Maybe you can have just one DEFCON guy, another guy's backup. But then how long is your horizon for keeping that triple up? Because as we mentioned, now let's look at the ticker for a longer period for Arsenal. Now, let's say Saka over here. After Sunderland, Tottenham, Chelsea, then you have Brentford, Villa, Wolves, Everton, Brighton. Villa, it's not
There's
bad,
like
man.
3 clean sheets there, man. Their
There's
defense is
clean sheets
never
there.
bad.
Actually, yeah, the
Yeah.
more I look at it now, you could potentially even hold the defenders a triple up all the way to maybe 19, 20, even all the way. This is not any time you're going to need to sell them. Maybe Timber misses the odd game during that period, but it's just going to be one game or two games max. I think it's workable.
Yeah,
Very
I
much so.
agree.
And I think it makes sense for the guys in the sixth wildcard. It requires too much juggling to get Saka in there as well. Also now, and you have Gyökeres, who is potentially a good pick. Also, I do get that triple up is viable, very much so. But with Ray, I still not there on Calafiori. I think you'd go Rhea,
So you
Gabriel
can get
Timber,
Saliba.
and go Saliba. But I don't know, the fullbacks, don't you think it's a little bit different this season? They're getting forward so much. In the Calafiori, he had the chance
They
early on
are.
against
Dude, that
Fulham.
goal. He scored the offside goal or whatever. It was VR offside. What a fine finish, man.
What
Like,
a
he's good.
finish.
But I just think, the difference between Timber and Calafiori is that Luis Kelly is actually good. When he comes on and he plays in the rotation games, he looks good. But in the case of White, he looks rubbish. So you're thinking that, if he's forced to, he'll play White in the Carabao Cups to give him some minutes. But with Luis Kelly, he can actually just actively say, okay, you play this game because it's a midweek game and it's a Premier League.
I think we're looking at in terms of defenders, Gabriel, Timber, Munoz. In terms of the guys who are above 5.5, absolute standout picks. Now let's look at the next bracket. Now, Senesi is an interesting one because for buying new, he's 5 million now. And again, the fixtures we talk about in the short term, Forest obviously is good. Then you have Man City and Villa. I think as a Senesi owner, you're not planning to ideally play him in those two games, right?
Correct. Correct. Well, Villa you could. Villa is actually good for the centre backs who play
For
Villa for
DEFCON.
DEFCON. So Villa you could. Man City no.
Right. So, and now the price also, again, 5 million potentially rising a little bit, is a little bit more expensive now. But the fixtures
Honestly,
turn
you could save 0.5 and go Diakite if you wanted a
Diakite
Bournemouth guy.
necessarily. Or
You
what
could.
I'm thinking potentially is maybe keep Timber for now. Around game week 12 is when the fixtures turn for Bournemouth a little bit. Segue Timber to Senesi around then when I can potentially play Senesi every week. That's
That
something I have
works.
in mind.
That works. Although you'll be tempted to do Munoz as well at that point.
I already have Richards.
Yes. No, we can double up. Oh, you're going double attack as well.
Full
You're
attack.
blocking yourself out of Munoz, Zoph.
Yes, potentially, yes. We need to talk about that because again, where else do I go with the 4.5? Anderson was there, solved so many issues. But with
Anderson is good, man.
that's a
He's
problem. With
good.
the hamstring injury now, even if he says Silva says he's going to be back with the fixture congestion that's coming up in December, it'll be very tricky to rely on Anderson every week.
So it's true. We'll have to see, obviously, how his injury is coming along. And it could be one of those lingering hamstrings which he says, oh, he's almost ready. And then in 4 weeks, he's still not playing. So it is annoying, very annoying. Like, I wouldn't pick Anderson now.
In the 5 million bracket, I think Senesi is a standout. Then the 4.5s we are talking about in terms of the DEFCON guys, you have Richards and Keane. Anybody else at 4.5?
Trying to think. No, like I would have said West Ham defenders, but now they're all rubbish. So, like, they had their time in the sun for 1 week. But
Absolutely.
no, I think that's it.
I think because I think now, I think with Palace now, you either go, it's come to the point now, even Gehi is approaching 5. I think you sort of go Richards or you sort of go Munoz. The guys in the
Yeah,
middle, you kind of sort of let them go now.
correct, correct. Because you get value for what you get at those prices.
Yep. So I think Richards is just very good for DEFCON. The goal at potential or attacking threat isn't what I want, but the DEFCON just seems very, very good. He
He's
almost hit,
he scored a couple of goals this season, not in the Premier League, of
yeah,
course, but in I think in Europe and in international duty he scored.
he almost hit DEFCON in the first half against Bournemouth.
But he's a beast, man.
So that was against
He's a
Semenyo.
beast.
So that's obviously going to be a little bit on the higher side. Now, the 4.0 bracket is interesting because with Rodon, like we've seen, the defensive data is strong, but not as good for DEFCON. Simply
No,
put, I guess Burnley was like maybe on 2 or 3. So when it comes down to
Rodon is
getting,
somebody you have and you can reliably play in his good fixtures. I think, excuse me, Mukele is somebody who you can have. He can play any game. He'll get you floor of 3 points.
absolutely. So I think if you was picking one today, it's a bit tricky, right? Because with Rodon, it's an immediate fixture that covers a lot of potential problems because you have Richards or somebody else you want to bench this week. But if I think I was picking one today, it would be Mukiele over Rodon, despite how good Rodon has been for me.
Both have not got great fixtures, so it really depends to taste, right? If there's not a fixture at all you see in the future where Rodon is playable, then like I said, if it's about who's your second sub, get the guy who gets more DEFCON. So I don't think there's much in it. I still think Leeds is the better defense, so you have a chance of jamming a clean sheet when he comes on as your second sub. So from that point of view, I still like him, but it's not worth that much of a headache. And point one.
Agree. If we do get news now this weekend that Anderson is out for a bit, and somebody, I think this week most people weren't planning to play Anderson, but a lot of us were planning to play him every week potentially. From the next one, who would you have your eye on? I think Richards or Keane?
Richards or Keane. I think those were the two options. And it depends on when you want to bench boost. So people who are on game were planning to bench boost this coming week, which I think LR is one of them.
Yes.
He's got this dilemma, right? So then he may hesitate to go Richards because he's playing Arsenal. So in his case, maybe Keane makes more sense. Like again, both are good picks, man. Like and now Keane is a good pick for 10, 12 game weeks, after which we'll have 5 free transfers. We'll be like swimming in transfers. So if you can solve until game week 16, then don't worry about, if it's a transfer booked or something. Which also applies to AFCON to an extent.
Agree. Midfielders, Saka, Semenyo, Bruno, the top three.
Saka, Semenyo, Bruno, yeah.
In agreement. The next one is interesting. This is what we discussed earlier. Endai, Sar, and Enzo. I think we already did the rankings, right? We did Enzo top. Sar and Endai is a little bit closer.
Correct, correct. And then I think, yeah, Gakpo one to monitor. I would still say, man, let's not give up on Gordon. He's all right. He's on
Yes.
pens.
Apologies for not including Gordon on this.
So no, it's fine. Like, who are we missing? We've covered Chelsea. Anybody else? Neto? Not really, right? Even though he
Not
gets the minutes,
really.
the haul was a little bit of a one-off.
Agree. I mean, he will keep getting the odd haul, and the minutes are very good. But again, route to points are not there.
Hmm. Minte, I would add here as well.
Minte
Paqueta,
also.
maybe not
Minte,
after yesterday, but
Paqueta not so.
Paqueta, Minte.
I think Boomo needs to be there. Paqueta not so. Yeah, Minte and Boomo is potentially two names we have missed out. Both also good picks. But again, with Minte,
Reinders,
Reinders, let's talk about Reinders, man. I think
yeah, we
also the
should.
guys are holding him. It's a very interesting one because I saw that first half very closely. Even I know he got stuck, but quite a few times before that, the positions were still good. He still got a
He's
few
good,
good
man.
shots on.
Yeah.
Doku should have put that chance away, which he created. So there's
Yep,
a little bit of reaction, but this has been happening for so many weeks now. And like we mentioned, the problem with City is the players are coming back. The fixture
that's the
congestion is
problem.
coming. He's got Bernardo coming, and again, he's talking about I want more goal scorers in my team. Reinders is a goal scorer, but he might be tempted now as the fixtures get easier. Especially, can he afford to play a Foden in a midfield role rather than a 10? He can. He can afford to play Cherky there. He can afford to play Bernardo there. The minutes are just, I think, on more of a downward slope than upward. But again, like you mentioned, it's a
That's
bit
the
of a
problem.
form thing. He scores a few goals, minutes become more secure in the short term.
Exactly, exactly. Look, I think he can be a sell if people are looking to sell. I wouldn't pick him on wildcard. I think no wildcard eights had him um, because of minutes. But when you watch the game, he looks bloody good for a midfielder. That's 5.5, 5.6, whatever he is now, 5.7. It's great value. But he's competing against other midfielders, not in price necessarily, but in slots. Like you only have five midfield slots. I think he's good. He's a good pick, but minutes are a problem. So it's best to just watch the next 4 weeks. And if he's getting regular 60-minute subs now and missing the odd game, then he becomes a dead pick. If he comes back to his 80 minutes plus, then he's an amazing pick and he'll be back in many teams in Gameweek 12.
Forwards, again, I think we've done this already in terms of your Pedro, Mateta, and Woltemade. Krupi and Mark Guiu, if you're going to dead end, I think Krupi just looks a bit more consistent, even if Evan Nilsson is back soon, because you will get the odd start. I think we discuss others, Thiago, Haaland, and Gyökeres as well.
Yep.
Before we discuss Draft Plus, let's just do quickly Discord dilemmas and a quick plug for our Discord, please.
Yep. So if you'd like to join us, we've got a Discord channel, which we've talked about in the past. And we have now a Wildcard 9 channel. We had a Wildcard 8 channel that was buzzing all of international break. We have an emergency Wildcard 9 channel for 5 days for the Wildcard Niners. But there's other stuff on the Discord as well. If you want to hang out, share your holiday pictures, fitness, cricket, like there's a bunch of stuff. So join us. And if you want to, there's a QR code here. And that lets you join the Patreon, or you can also become a YouTube member. So both of those give you access to the Discord. And while we're at it, if you don't want to support us through Discord or Patreon, you can also, of course, like the video. You can subscribe to the channel. That all stuff is also really, really appreciated.
Yep. So first one is from FPL Heritage. He's pretty much asking, with so many free transfers for managers, what's the bar for a hit? How do we weigh up a scenario like 3 transfers, including a -4 versus a wild card? Assuming both scenarios would get you to the team you like. And I think as we get closer to 16, where we're going to get those transfers, and again, that's a game changer this season, the value of the wildcard decays week by week.
I think chips in general have decayed, man. Like free hit, now we're looking at it, and honestly, if you can find a week where you gain some points and not lose points, is a good free hit week. We've reached that stage where there's people playing free hit chips where they're losing points because the original team scored more points. Because you're trying to be clever, right? Oh,
It
I'm gonna
almost
go
happened
against
with me.
Semenyo.
I was going to free
Yeah.
hit Semenya out the week. He did that 18 pointer.
Exactly. So it's like one of those things where chips just have lower value. Hits have lower value for the reasons we've talked about all season. Like you could get your DEFCON guy who gets you 2 points. Like I had this week where Enzo didn't play and Senesi came, got 2 DEFCON. Of course, in that game they conceded 3 goals. He got a yellow card. He could have got a red card. Still, I got a 2 pointer. It could have become a 4, right? So there is no reason to be taking hits necessarily. And if you're also using 3 transfers, remember, if you wildcard, you'll carry those transfers as well through. So just wildcard in that case.
And again, I think it just makes sense now. The main appeal for Wildcard 12, which is the next window we're looking at, was Liverpool. And with that uncertainty now, I think it just makes sense to go earlier.
It's just that season, man. So if you are one of those people that wildcard in game week 4, well done. Like this season, it has just worked out. Like game week 8, 9 was supposed to be the Palmer wildcard. Game week
So
12 was supposed to be the Salah wildcard. It's just not worked out.
So you're going to meet Vaidehi in London first. She's one of our Discorders. She messaged me in game week 4 that I'm fed up of these guys. Just like help me out with my wild card. So we included Haaland, we included Gehi, we included so many good players, and now she's literally 80 points ahead of me. I'm like, don't message me anymore for advice. Message Bakar.
Yes, I am meeting her on Thursday. I think we're meeting for coffee. So yeah, she's flying, absolutely flying.
Name one player from each position nobody owns now, but we will sit on Mateta also, by the way. I should mention that. I'm so jealous.
Shall I cancel the coffee? I used to say, I mean, this is too much, man. Disgusting.
Yep. Name one player from each position nobody owns now, but we will sit Christmas Eve and say thanks for the gift. Also have a big dilemma with structure, wondering if dead forward or cheap midfielder as eighth attacker. We covered that bit, but let's talk about one player from each position. I mean, not even each position. Let's just go with one player. Plus, nobody owns right now who you think around Christmas will be close to a must-have.
That needs a little time, man. You
It
go
does, right?
first.
I actually thought about it and I couldn't really think of it. It's not really my forte. Maybe something that LR would have really thought about a bit more.
By definition, if nobody's thinking about it, then we can't come up with it, right?
I think maybe Minte is the only one, or again, Minte is on the radar. It's very difficult to find someone with 8 game weeks now who's not showed any data whatsoever. I said nobody owns right now. Okay, I think Minte comes close then.
Minte would be close, but go for a team where we think the trajectory is going to completely change due to change of manager. So I'm going to go wild and I'll go Forest and Daesh. And nobody owns right now. Let's go Milenkovic. I know
Lenkovic
it's
is a
not a
good
great
shot.
pick.
A good shot.
I
I really like that
like
one.
a Tarkowski equivalent.
That's a good. Cool. Let's do drafts first. First up, let's just do your guys' bus team. This is LR's. I'll read his team out. He's got 0.5 in the bank, one free transfer. And like you mentioned, he wants to bench boost this week. This is dependent on Enzo and Anderson, or he could alternately go in 11. So we've got the positive update on Enzo Anderson. He's almost certainly to be out this week at least. So I think now he has to weigh it up whether to use a transfer for Richards or a Keane this week or to go next week.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is with you have to pick one. I think Richards is just a better pick, right? Objectively over Keane. You're going to play someone almost every week. He doesn't have to because he's got Senesi there as well.
He doesn't have to. So I think he needs to do the math on how much will he play Keane, and in the weeks where Keane is available, will he actually have a benching headache, or at least it will be welcome? Because Riches is playable every week after this week. So I do agree that if he wants to delay, because I remember he was talking about a game week 11 wildcard as well. So he can equally just wait, save
Bench
a
boost.
transfer. Sorry, bench boost, I mean, yeah. So he could equally wait and just see what happens in game week 11. But the temptation, if all your players are fine, right? Saka doesn't come away with the European tie with a little limp, or Timber and Gabriel look good. So their temptation is there, and I understand it just to get it done. And I did the same thing. So I don't know. I think it'll be a 50-50. He'll talk about it in the team selection.
Because the fixtures, you look
Which
at
will
it
be
for his
after Europe.
bench, for the bench guys are quite decent. Dewsbury Hall is at home to Tottenham, Rodon home to West Ham, Dubravka away to Wolves. Then you have Anderson away. Now the same guys. Now the fixtures in 11 for Rodon, Forest against Dyche again. First thing he's going to try to do, shore up the defense. Could potentially get a clean sheet there. Dewsbury Hall home to Fulham, still a good home fixture. I think so. Same thing applies to Keane also, right? Keane that week has, I think, a decent home fixture. So does Richards. Dubravka has away to West Ham. Again, not a bad fixture.
That's doable. That's doable.
I think potentially maybe delay it a little bit, maybe because you might find some better use for your transfers. Don't necessarily need
See,
to
the
go
delay is always, it feels okay to delay. Until then, when you reach that week and one of your players
something
has a
else.
Murillo type injury, and then you're like,
That's a good
oh, shall I
shout.
move him? Shall I play him?
I think then it'll come down to whether he wants to get Keane or Richards, because you don't want to bench boost with Richards this week.
You can also.
You can. You
2 points. DEFCON is nailed on.
Play the 3-pointer, 3 to 4-pointer. Can actually. Not that bad.
I would,
Tottenham could
yeah.
also
I mean,
score.
right now it's not a decision. See if Chelsea players and Arsenal players and Sar makes it through okay, and then decide on, and Woltemade makes through okay, and then you decide on Thursday, Friday.
You would play Sar over Dewsbury Hall if he's not bench boosting? Or even Rodon?
You can go to my my bus team.
Exactly, because you've basically benched Sar and played Rodon. That's the main difference over here.
Yep. And I've got Gordon instead of Woltemade.
Walk me through your team.
So Pope in goal. Pretty much everyone playing at home apart from Haaland. So it's not bad, hopefully, on paper. Um, Timber and Gabriel, Rodon and Senesi. I'm playing Rodon, man. West Ham looked really poor. They've got a short turnaround time. Like I know Sar can score, but it's Arsenal. We've just looked at the data. That's just how I play. So sorry if people who are starting Sar, congrats. He's my first sub. Um, I've got Gordon, Saka, Semenyo, Enzo, all good picks as long as Enzo is fit. And you know what? If there is a world where Enzo is supposedly fit but doesn't show up again because they're being cautious, then Sar will come on,
That
no
is right.
problem. And then João Pedro and Haaland captain. So I think it's a pretty straightforward role. I will probably roll for the next 3-4 weeks unless I get tempted to João Pedro to Mateta, which is the only move which I think I could get tempted. I'm not gonna. Gordon can blank. You guys have seen my patience with Watkins. He can blank next 3 weeks. He'll be in my team. Game week 12, he can go to Bruno. That's the plan. He'll go to Bruno, or he'll
Or you can go
become
to
the
Gakpo, something like that.
Gakpo, or I can use the funds to take him up to Salah, depending on whatever. But he's not going next 3 game weeks. He's
You
good.
have to
He's
give
playing
him.
West Ham after this as well.
Absolutely. You have to give him the next 3 game weeks. Fulham, West Ham, Brentford is just a good run.
Yeah.
Plus, I've got a few drafts over here. There are not many changes over here. Now, this is what I had designed as a most likely team I would wildcard into, and this was prior to the Enzo news we got this morning. This is again 0.0 in the bank. I've got Pope and Dubravka in goal, Gabriel, Timber, Richards, two 4.0 guys, Rodon and Mukiele. In midfield, Saka, Semenyo, Bruno, Sar and Endai, Mateta, Haaland, Krupi Jr. So again, this team, I like it a lot in the terms of sense of like, lot of routes to points, lot of secure minutes. The bench depth isn't as great, but with Rodon, Mukiele, Krupi Jr., there's something I can always get off the bench also. In terms of the bench boost, I can't obviously use it this week, but I could probably just chuck it on 11 if Krupi is going to play against Villa, right? Because then Mukiele has Arsenal that week. It's all right for DEFCON. Rodon, we just discussed, has Forest. Dubravka has West Ham. It's all right.
Yeah. I mean, if you had played your bench boost, I would say it's actually great. Like it's fine. Like you don't need to worry about it. My only question to you will you start getting tempted and say, I need to now use my transfers to upgrade my Krupi Junior or my Rodon. Then I would say, downgrade somewhere and get a better bench now. Get bench boost out of the way. Then get Krupi or a dead spot later. That's what I would say. That would be the first thing I would look at.
But even where would you upgrade for that, right? Because really, where would you downgrade and get the money? Now, see, Krupi, I think in terms of value, just looks good. And like we discussed, the third forward spot isn't looking that great. Maybe you go Thiago, but in terms of structure, this is the structure I think I want to take into it.
Well, I mean, as an example, I'm not trying to change your mind,
Hmm.
just giving you an example. Like, so you go Minte or you go somebody like a cheap midfielder and you go Krupi up to a Voltemade even. I don't know if that is possible,
So I
but
have
something
made
like that.
another. So I have made another draft with that also as well, something like this, right? But again, as we spoke about over now,
But here
this
also
one
you have a dead spot, right?
you have a dead spot in Miley in that sense. Miley that week has your this one Bradford away. Might play after a Champions League, but could also be a one-pointer. Rodon Mukiele remain, but what I've essentially done over here, at Endai money, I spread it out over there. Petrovic, Pope has become Petrovic. Krupi now over here, you don't have the Senesi problem as much because you have the third guy in Voltemade. You're not taking Krupi
Right.
in that
Got it.
sense.
Got it.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
again, what I'm looking at, Voltemade, very good short term, but I'm making sacrifices, I think, in defense. In that sense, a Petrovic spot, I don't really like Petrovic as much necessarily as a Sanchez or a Pope. And even with Voltemade, the short term is good, but when I get to around game week 12 or 13, which forward am I going to move him to? The minutes start looking
Yeah.
a bit dodgy because at that time I won't be able to get Pedro. None of the other forwards are really attractive. I'll probably have to go down to Thiago. So the next 3 weeks, I really, really like the upside for Voltemade, but as a long-term pick, it's a bit of a problem, I think.
No, I also prefer the previous version, to be honest, because in that version you can get Enzo as well. Here you have no Chelsea, right?
So that is the Pope and Di Pedro one. Let me
Go on
show
then.
you.
Source the Sanchez draft. Don't be shy.
Yes, this is the Sanchez
There you
one.
go. All right.
So yeah, you
So
see the.
Sanchez and Bruno as the nailed picks. All right, who else is there?
So yes, what has happened now? Endai, I've taken him up to Enzo. So basically, I needed to find point two from the one I showed you in the right in the beginning, right? So because for me,
Yeah.
Mateta and Pedro are the same price. Did the price farming. I got Mateta in before and Pedro dropped. So point three now needs to point two needs to be found. So I can go Krupi to Guiu, or I can go Pope to Sanchez.
Well, with Giu,
Now the
you
thing is,
can
I
if
want to play that Krupi spot this week, and I want to hide at least. I don't want to play Mateta and Sar. I'll play Mateta and I want to bench Sar, so I want to use that GU spot this week and I want to use that spot in 11 as well.
I understand. I
And
understand.
and I want a better guy at least there for December, just in case I want someone. GU pretty much dead to me in December. Krupi, I think, as a
It's a
long-term
dead
pick.
spot though, Zoff. Like you're never gonna like even if like the only scenario is that Evanilson never comes. Like he is
Yeah,
completely
because
out.
always Rodon and Mukiela are going to be ahead of Krupi.
Exactly. He's your third bench. Like I think you think about only this week. Watch the Chelsea Champions League game. If you think that Gui genuinely has a chance to start this week, then I think the Krupi down to Gui, play Gui this week and get Pope. I think I prefer that slightly because long term, then you don't need Gui, right? And Pope is better long term than Sanchez, as somebody told me in my World Cup.
It is,
So,
and we saw the
yeah.
data today.
No, we
Absolutely,
agree. We agree.
absolutely, just
We
a
agree.
matter of money, right? Because I think again that getting Enzo now for the next 3 to 4 fixtures is an upgrade over Star or Endai. You
I
agree
think
with
so.
that?
I think he's worth it. I think he's worth it. I think he's like I said in my rankings. I think he's top if he's fit. Like if he was fit, it's not a discussion. With the lingering doubt, does he lose some minutes? This you know better than me. I don't know. But
I mean,
as
we're
a
all
pick,
guessing. Your guess is as good
without
as
Palmer,
mine.
he's a top pick.
And as you can see, your guess is as good as mine. The fact that they haven't played him last week, I think now he mentioned he's training Monday already. They have 5 days
Yeah.
of training, and I think you will need him now, especially like we mentioned, there's no Gusto also. There's lack of options in midfield, which where you're just tempted. Okay, fine, throw him in, then rest him in the Carabao Cup in midweek.
Yep. Yep.
This is one more version I just made to see what I could do with Munoz over here. Now this is basically the Volte cash. You spread it around. You keep that Miley spot. You make that Volte into Krupi. And you get Munoz, Senesi, and Pope. So this essentially becomes more of a 4-4-2. You're playing your
Perma 442.
Perma 4-4-2. You're playing Munoz, Senesi every week.
Don't love it, to be
Don't
honest.
love it either. That's exactly what I thought. I think this one is pretty much the Enzo one. We have to decide.
Because in that version, in that previous version, let's say you need a midfielder, some midfielder, any midfielder. How do you get the money?
Not.
You're just this team is like a dead stuck team. You'll never sell Munoz. You won't sell Sar. You won't sell Mateta. Bruno is not sellable. Semenyo is not sellable. You're just stuck in this team.
Like there I can use that Enzo spot a little bit. There's some versatility in that
Yeah.
sense. I like Endai a lot though. I was secretly hoping Enzo wouldn't make it because I thought that balance of that Endai that hope thing was so nice. But Enzo's upside I need some Chelsea because this has just been bothering me. I've even put Pedro there in for Mateta, but then I look at the data again. I'm like, how can I justify this? The Enzo thing, you have the root 2 points.
Yep. Yep. I mean Enzo down to a Minte in game week 12 seems very nice. Like although Enzo plays Burnley, maybe game week 13, but something like
13, I'm
that,
planning to free
that
hit.
cheap.
Because what I'm going
Okay.
to go into 13 with 3 Arsenal. I'm going to go 2 Chelsea, and I will also have 4 players in Palace United. So effectively, there's going to be 9 players in 2 matches. It's a recipe for
Right.
disaster.
It's going to be popular. I think free game week 13. What I worry is that it's game week 14 when you want the Liverpool picks, but
Yeah,
you're
because
free
it's home to
hitting the week
Sunderland.
they're playing it. Yeah. So shall I tell you something that you could do?
Tell
You
me.
could do Salah to Haaland. Sorry, Haaland to Salah. Then free hit in 13
Mm-hmm.
because then you have Salah back in game week 14.
And then
Haaland is
use
away to Fulham. And
and then
then you
15,
turn it back
write it
in game
down, and
week
it's
15.
15. Oh, yeah, it's a decent shot. And 16, you're going to get the transfers anyway. Salah is gone. So
Exactly.
potentially it's just a
Exactly.
1 week issue. But that's a bridge we'll
So
cross when we get there.
yeah.
As of now, I think most likely this is the one. It's going to be the Sanchez Enzo one because I think the Krupi thing it just makes a bit more sense to me because I do think Krupi again. There's a lot of talk about Krupi being a generational talent. Also, I think some number of goals people keep telling me he scored at Leighton
He's
Orient.
good, man. Last year in League Two, he scored. I think he was top scorer. So he was good. There was a lot of hype on him. Game week 1. It was just that Gu when he moved to Sunderland, everybody said, "Okay, let's get Gu. Forget about Krupi Junior." So chat is telling you to sell Bruno, man. Zoph, can you talk to the chat? Because Bruno is in every draft.
Bruno is every draft. Just the minutes, man. Like you mentioned, the teams that are not in Europe, and now that we're entering the busy period, I just want minutes monsters as far as I can get them.
So they're saying Bruno plus a 4.5 to two 6.5s. You could get Indai and Enzo for Bruno and Miley. So that's an option.
Something to think about, but I don't think I'll be thinking about it much.
No. Look, the idea is that because you have bench boost left, you can think about it and use two transfers to then dead spot after your bench boost.
I
It
get
could
that,
give you extra
but again,
points.
I've been preaching this right when we had that raw spot in preseason. The bench boost is an overvalued chip. I'm really
Oh,
not going
definitely.
to. I'm not going to change the players I pick just because of a bench boost.
Definitely. And that's actually the negative value of the bench boost. People spend transfers to get their bench or take a hit to get their bench. And that's actually a bigger problem than actually what they get on the bench. This year, actually, bench boost has done well, right? Because people have these DEFCON guys, and whenever you needed them, they came up with either save points or clean sheet points or DEFCON points. Like Burnley has been quite good from that point of view of helping people's bench boost.
We have a few super chats, Pras. Let's get those.
Yep.
Expected the pod to be a short one today. We've hit close to 2 hours.
It's your wild card.
Yep. And I think this is pretty much all the discussion we're going to have. I'm going to lock it in now pretty much in a couple of days. First one from Nehal with Anderson out. Who is the best replacement for BB9? Keane. Anything else?
I think we talked about that.
Yep. Sayak, he's just mentioned his own team over here. Rafka, Poro, Gabriel, Sinesi, Richards, pretty standard. Semenyo, Eze, Foden, Reinders, Haaland, Pedro, Odon, Ndegu. One free transfer. Should I wildcard? In terms of problems in your team, let's say Poro, Eze is okay. Eze is an interesting one.
Eze is fine, man.
Eze is a fine.
That 60-minute sub was a little weird.
I mean, that's Arteta, man. Go 1-0 up, sub, protect clean sheet. Then we go to Foden is a little bit dodgy now. Reinders, not so much. Pedro, Rodon. Again, I think you can hold it for 1 week, bro. I don't think the team's bad, but again, you have to see what, again, will your team look like? What is the opportunity cost? Benchmark your team, what it would be a few weeks down the line. If you think you can get to then, fair play.
The other thing is, next week is slightly better to get your triple palace, right? Like
It
right
is.
now, okay, you can do it. So if you can hold on a week, I think it's not a bad thing.
Agree. I totally agree. I think next week would have potentially been a better window for the wildcard. Joshua is asking, happy Diwali, boys. Thank you, Joshua. Same to you. Triple up on Crystal Palace. And again, I think Pras mentioned, I'm a bit more keen on it. Pras is advising a little bit more restraint. I think the performance against Arsenal will tell us a lot.
I mean, they'll do their thing, but I feel we have now reached an overreaction stage because of what happened in the last game. Like,
in my mind as well.
There are 4 good options from Palace. Get one defender, get one forward, or if you want, get 2 attackers. Like, I don't think a triple up is like you have to get on a triple up. Like, I think there's huge value in saving transfers over the next 2-3 weeks as well.
And the last one is a wire appreciation from Aranya, who had Mukiele this week. He went from something to 3 million plus to inside the 1 million. So well done, Aranya.
What was interesting was a lot of people picked Mukiele because Alderete had become 4.1. Right? When they were buying, they were like, I'm not spending 4.1, I'll spend 4.
Also injury doubt. There's also a bit of an injury doubt coming into it. Right?
There was a bit of some people, Tom from Scout, he does that pod with the old burning questions with Harry.
The watchlist.
He had Alderete, he was bench boosting. So what he does is he's like, I'm not taking any doubts. I just want a guy from Sunderland. He does Alderete to Mukiele. I mean, incredible.
That's lovely, man. These are lovely FPL moments. Our friend Bakar also, I remember on his bench boost, he had Van Heck, who just went up. I think he scored a late goal against Wolves. So when it works out on bench boost, especially, it's a little bit sweeter, right? Because that's the 1 week you need him to sort of deliver, and he does. So those are the moments you remember.
Correct. Exactly.
Fantastic. All right. Let's wrap up. It's been a great chat. Thank you for everything. I think I'm pretty clear on where I'm going to go. Let's see where the Champions League changes. I'll have my team selection video out on the Friday.
We need a little bit of a Bob Sanchez is the best if he ends up in your draft, right? We need a little. You can't be so bad to Bob Sanchez and then not then pick him. You have to give him some love, give him some sugar on your team selection. Okay?
Let's say if he gets me some 2 clean sheets in the next 3, then Bob Sanchez. I'll buy a Bob Sanchez kit. Let's do that.
All right, excellent.
2 clean sheets in the next 3. That's a deal.
Let's do that.
Done. Great chatting for us. Thank you for joining us. See you again soon. LR will be back with us next week, guys. Again, like and subscribe.
And for his team selection.
And for his team selection. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.
Take care, everyone.